This is the Sons of UCF podcast, your place for UCF sports talk year-round. Now, here is Adam and Mike.
Hey now, Sons of UCF, episode number 116. We are back and maybe even better than ever. As always, I am Adam, and Mr. UCF Mike has joined me again this week. Mike, greetings, my friend. How are you?
Yes, sir, man. Doing very well. We had a great show lined up already. I already know because we just recorded the interview, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, all right. So Mike's doing the tease off the top. Usually that's my job, but it's fine. I'll take your cue here from Mike. Let's start here. Who we are, what we do, Sons of UCF. Make sure you find us on all your social media platforms at Sons of UCF. If you're joining us for the very first time, welcome aboard. Do us a favor while you're there. Hit the subscribe button. We're available on all your major podcast platforms. Hit that button and you'll get our shows whenever we release them. If you're a longtime listener and you haven't yet had a chance to give us a rating or review, if you'd be so kind, we'd love you to maybe hit up that iTunes, and if you want to put a little 5-star situation on our show and maybe a good comment, we'd love that too. We got some swag we're going to give away at some point. We don't yet know how we're going to do that, but maybe some good comments. Maybe one day Mike will surprise you and go through the comments and pick out a couple of good ones, and maybe we'll get an email or something that you're getting a hat. So if you want to subscribe, rate, review to the show, that helps us keep this thing moving along, which is something we love to do. On this particular episode, we have not one but two interviews for you, so a double interview session. We think you'll enjoy both. Very different eras of UCF football, and some stuff memory lane, some stuff very topical. So stick around for two interviews. And Cow of the Week always is a staple of the show, and so we'll do that as well. But Mike, let's start off with the headlines, news, notes, all that good jazz off the top. I guess we'll get to basketball in a second, probably more stuff with basketball, so we'll save that for a quick second here. UCF football update. Not much update, Mike. We talked about this last week. We broke the news on the show that potentially there'd be a change at the wide receiver coach position. We now know that Darrell Wyatt is no longer with the program. Why he's no longer with the program is a little bit up in the air. The rumors were he was heading to Auburn. Turns out Auburn hired a receivers coach, and it wasn't Darrell Wyatt, so he's not heading to Auburn. Some other folks maybe connecting some dots that maybe his time at UCF just came to an end. Rumors about the replacement have been out there. There was a Tennessee coach that was interviewed, allegedly. There was some talk about Cody Burns from Auburn. His name was floated out there, Mike. We still don't have any clarity there. We also still don't have an official announcement on the name of the running back coach, even though he's already announced it on his own Twitter and changed his bio. But either way, Mike, the coaching stuff has not yet resolved this stuff. Should we be worried at this point that we still have no idea who the heck is on our coaching staff?
No, I don't think so. You know who the head coach is, and you know who the defensive coordinator is. When we're talking about a position coach, yes, it'd be nice to get somebody in there now, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, half the guys listening to this podcast probably couldn't tell you who the wide receiver coach was coming into this season anyway, right? I completely forgot Darrell Wyatt's name, I'm sure, at points of the year. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Unless you're talking about recruiting and all the off-season stuff, that's where it really matters. And, I mean, Heupel's got to fill the position with somebody who's going to somebody that we're going to be able to afford, because I'm sure that plays a big part in the decision. And two, somebody that can get some talent out here recruiting wise. And that's what we've been begging for the last few months. Every time a coaching position opens up, that's the first thing we say: get somebody that can recruit.
Well, this is an interesting spot too, because we talked about this a few shows back. The receiver position obviously is undergoing a lot of turnover this year. We already know about Jacob Harris, Trey Nixon, Marlon Williams leaving the program to continue their professional careers. We know that Stretch Cradle decided to transfer out of the program. And so we're going to have a lot of guys who, while they may have been around the program for a while, haven't had a lot of live snaps on the field. So whoever this coach is really going to have, I don't want to say his or her hands full, but they're going to have their hands full, continuing to figure out how to best, rotate these receivers in and out. And one guy they'll be rotating in and out, Mike, is our transfer right now. So the grad transfer portal was open to UCF, and they snatched up Brandon Johnson, previous of the Tennessee Volunteers. He is actually a graduate transfer. He's played 4 years at Tennessee. His best year was 2017. He caught 37 passes for 482 yards, and his lone career touchdown, only one touchdown in his career, Mike. He announced his intention to join UCF, and so far that's all we know about, at least officially. How excited are you to welcome Brandon Johnson into the black and gold?
Well, I don't know much about him, like you said, but he is the son of Charles Johnson, right?
That's
Former
correct.
catcher for the Florida Marlins,
Yeah,
World Series champion, and also the cousin of Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco.
that's also correct. Yes,
Can we get Ocho Cinco to maybe coach the wide receivers? How awesome would that be?
that would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, he seems to be available. I think he was. He think he's on a podcast with Brandon Marshall actually, but maybe he's in the mix. Who knows?
I'll get Brandon Marshall to get in his ear. Marshall's a UCF guy. Now he's got his cousin here. Come do as a discount, maybe a hometown discount here. And hey, I mean, does Brandon Marshall want to coach the wide receivers? There's another option. Either one of those guys. That'd be great. But this kid, I mean, he seems like a good kid. He's a grad transfer, so he's got experience. He's played in the SEC for the last few years. That's got to be something. That's got to be a positive, you would think. So hopefully he's able to come in and contribute because we're going to need some depth now at wide receiver.
Yeah, he's 6'2", so a little bit of a bigger receiver, and so maybe he fills kind of that Marlon Williams-esque role across the middle. Doesn't seem like he's the fastest receiver, but it's relative when you think about the guys UCF has and O'Keefe and Jalen Robinson and Kevon Ahmad. So we'll see how he pans out. But right now, Mike, that's the only real firm name from the transfer portal. I know UCF was sniffing around some other guys. A bunch of other guys have committed elsewhere. But I think there's still a couple names out there. But a situation to watch, Mike, is speaking of Tennessee. I don't know why this has become the Tennessee Volunteers podcast, but Jeremy Pruitt, their head coach, was fired today, and so the potential for some more kids from that program maybe to decide they want to look elsewhere. They just had a big D tackle transfer from Auburn to Tennessee, and now the coach that he transferred to play for, he's gone. So perhaps some other folks will enter into the portal, but UCF only dipping in right now to get one. Are you concerned about that? Obviously, every time somebody decides to transfer, there's usually a Twitter post and someone says, "Hey, do we getting this guy? Hey, we getting this guy?" If we got every transfer out there, we'd have like 92 transfers. But are you concerned at all that we don't have 92, Mike? We only have one at this point.
No, because signing day, there's still another signing day. We can still sign kids out of high school, which ideally is what you want to do. I guess now in 2021, things have changed where the transfer portal is so open. I guess it's more common now. But traditionally, you want to get a guy that's going to be here for 4 years, 5 years, and be a part of the program and grow with the team. It's nice to get a grad transfer here and there, but you don't want to build your whole team around them, I don't think. I don't think that's the way to go. Same thing with JUCO guys. They're nice supplementary guys to have in, plug holes where you need them. But I'm not flipping out that we don't have 10 of these guys. And fans on Twitter and all these places and the message boards, they expect us to sign everybody that goes on the portal. What are we supposed to do? And then anybody that doesn't sign here, it must be because Heupel can't close the deal. Or, maybe some people, not everybody just doesn't want to come to UCF. It's not that hard to figure out sometimes.
Yeah, the transfer portal is an interesting place. Obviously, there's a lot of possibilities and options out there, but kids have the ability now to shop and find the right fit for them. And sometimes that right fit, is UCF. Sometimes it's what they're looking for. Sometimes they're looking to, maybe get some stats on the board and, play in a high-powered offense. They're looking to showcase certain skill sets. Maybe they have a connection with somebody. That's why the coaching stuff is so important. And so I think the only thing overall that, is just UCF has been very, very quiet on all these fronts. Again, no official announcement on coaches coming or going. I assume this is all the coaching changes we've seen so far, but we don't know that for a fact, right? We have some really smart guys who cover UCF in and around the program, and I assume that if something else was happening, we'd hear about it. But as typical UCF and typical Heupel, everything's really tight-lipped. So I don't know when we'll get clarity on anything right now, but I think ultimately, we have an opportunity to. You said it earlier to bring somebody in with a little bit of recruiting prowess, hopefully some charisma at the position, and we'll see what we get. And if those those coaches can attract new names in the transfer portal, then so be it. But it certainly has been quiet, and maybe that's by design. Maybe there's more coming, Mike. But it's certainly some fans are getting restless at the lack of news, I guess, coming out.
All right, but it's completely not done. You just mentioned Tennessee's going to have to hire a new coach now, so who knows who that guy's going to fill his staff with. Maybe he might take another one of our coaches, and we have to find another position coach. Or, things are going to be changing a lot for the next couple of months as teams fill out their staffs. NFL teams still have to hire guys. Maybe they go after a college guy, and that starts another domino effect somewhere else. But we're not the only ones affected. Everybody's going through this whole thing. So, just going to have to deal with it. As fans, you're just going to have to be patient and trust that the coaches are going to put guys in there that want to be here. There's a kid we signed as a preferred walk-on, I think, what was it, out of Bishop Moore or something? A kid that wants to be here, a kid that grew up as a UCF fan. I can't even think of his name right now. I got to go back and read the story. Maybe you know who I'm talking about. Guys like that. That's who I want this program to go after. Not necessarily grad transfers and guys that want, I don't know what their reasoning is to come in here for 1 year is.
Yeah, there's a few walk-on guys who have come in here. I'm trying to find the guy's name off the top of my head, too. I know who you're talking about, who just got a preferred walk-on offer. So we have Karis Bailey Weiss. He's from Bishop Moore, linebacker. He looks like he's taking a preferred walk-on spot. Let me continue to look at this for a moment here and filibuster.
I think it was either him or I think it might have been a receiver. I remember I just saw somebody posted a picture of him as a kid at a UCF basketball game, and it might have been that kid that you just mentioned.
Sebastian Vargas from Oviedo. He was a receiver cornerback as well. He wants to go to UCF. He's a preferred walk-on. So that could be the kid you're talking about.
Preferred walk-ons can turn out to be hell of a players. And as an example, we have one on the show tonight in Brandon Alexander, who turned out to be a pretty good player for 4 years for us. So just because you're not a 4-star recruit or you didn't play at Tennessee or you're not transferring from some SEC school doesn't mean you can't come here and have a hell of a career, as we've seen many times over, and especially with Brandon Alexander.
Well, two other stories that have kind of come out the last couple of days, Mike. One, we kind of talked about. We didn't really have a lot of clarity. I think we were both just kind of spitballing, but it turned out to be true. Brandon Moore announced his intention to join Mackenzie Milton at Florida State. Mike, how surprised were you to learn that Brandon was going to be up in Tallahassee?
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, we know the connection he has with Mackenzie Milton, how they went through rehab together with their legs. So you know that they're close, and you know Mackenzie is a hell of a recruiter. If Mackenzie thought it was a good idea to bring him in, he would do everything he could to get him in. He brought us Dylan Gabriel. He brought us a bunch of other guys. The kid can recruit, and hey, when he becomes a coach one day, that's going to be a big thing for him, right? So good for him. I'm not surprised that Brandon wanted to go there. It's a good opportunity for him if he can go there and get some playing time and have a good end to his college career. Then good for him.
One other story that's out there that's getting a little bit of noise, Mike, but it's definitely something to bear watching. Danny White's father, Kevin White, is the athletic director at Duke University, or should I say was the athletic director at Duke University. He has announced his intention to retire. And obviously articles always come out as soon as that happens. And guess whose name popped up on a possible list of replacements? That's right. Danny White popped up on that possible list of replacements. And then obviously today with the Tennessee stuff, their AD, Phil Fulmer, also announcing he'd be retiring as well. So 2 AD openings in prominent places. Now, to be fair, Danny's brother, Brian White, was mentioned in an article relative to the Tennessee opening. But obviously there's the Duke opening, and Danny's got some connections there, Mike. Does that give you any concern at all?
Yes, that would be very. I mean, that would be the worst thing for us right now at this time, to lose Danny White, who's done so much for this program and build up not just football, but basketball and all the hires he's made, women's basketball, baseball, every sport has taken a turn up since Danny White has got here. The culture in the athletic department, the fundraising he's done, I don't know how we could replace him, or it'd be very hard to replace him with somebody that can do the job that he's been doing. So if he were to go somewhere, that would be the biggest blow to this athletic department, I think. Duke would scare me. We know that his father has worked there for a long time, and he's got the connections there. It would seem like a good fit for him to go there. That would scare me. If Notre Dame ever opened up, that would really scare me because that's where he went to school. Tennessee, I mean, any of these places can throw a lot of money on him, but he's making some pretty good money here at UCF too. And he has unfinished business here. It's going to be completely on him to decide. But at the same time, this pandemic has hurt us financially to a point where maybe he may think about it. He may think, hey, I don't know if I can pull UCF back into where we were headed before. We had so much momentum going, and now the losing on top of the pandemic, it's going to be tough. His job here got a lot harder in the last couple of years. So I don't think you could blame him if he went to a place like Duke, but I really hope he doesn't. I hope he sticks around here and makes his mark and brings us into a P5 conference, and then from there he can take whatever job he wants.
Yeah, that one concerns me a little bit. Here's why. So Tennessee, I don't know if anyone's going to want to go near the Tennessee job. It sounds like they're either going to put themselves under some penalties, or they're going to be put under some penalties. So as an AD, you're walking into a job with a football program, probably on a bunch of sanctions. Their basketball school is okay, I guess, but their basketball team is okay, I guess. But it's an SEC school, so I guess you never rule out the check that comes with it and all that stuff. Duke is obviously interesting, right? Because you know he's got the connection with his dad. We know Danny's a basketball guy. He played basketball at Notre Dame. Duke is obviously synonymous with basketball. I think it's pretty safe to assume, Mike, the next AD at Duke is going to be the one to have to find a replacement for Mike Krzyzewski, who at some point is going to retire. So it's obviously a high-profile spot, a high-profile job. Now maybe that rules Danny out just a little bit because he hasn't, been at a quote-unquote P5 type school, and maybe that impacts his candidacy. And it sounds like from the article I read, there's a bunch of other individuals with sort of the deputy AD at Duke now might be a good fit for that spot, but some things could line up there, Mike, and that would be really interesting because, to your point, we complain about Heupel, we complain about Dawkins, all that stuff, but Danny's kind of the heartbeat of the athletic program. I think somebody who was really highly thought of was Eric Wood. He was kind of one of Danny's assistant ADs. He just went to go to Louisiana Tech. So, do we have anybody on staff who could ascend into that role? Does UCF have to go outside to find somebody? That could certainly be quite a shakeup that may reverberate for years to come if something were to happen with Danny's tenure at UCF.
Well, we seem to have a lot of experts out on social media sites. Maybe all you guys need to freshen up your resumes, get prepared just in case this job opens. Let's see what you can do.
I mean, I didn't get the stadium announcer job. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put in for the AD job though and see how it goes. Let me ask you this real quick: if you get the AD job, are you keeping Heupel?
He's on a very tight leash.
Okay.
He's on a very tight leash. I'm gonna have to go over some budgets and stuff and see what we can work out.
All right, I won't hold you to it.
Don't worry, I'll work on my resume tomorrow morning.
All right, well, Mike will be at resume school tomorrow morning, and those are really kind of the comings and goings around the football program. I wish there was more to share. Obviously recruiting season is starting, so you're starting to see UCF get some offers out there right now. But we got some Q&A coming up here in a little bit. There's a few more football questions, so we'll dip our toe back into football at that point, Mike. But let's talk basketball. Yay! So since we last recorded on these airwaves, UCF has played 2 games. And they have lost 2 games. UCF went 0-2. They had a noon Thursday tip-off, at Temple, which turned out to be pretty much everything you'd expect from a noon Thursday tip-off at Temple after a team hadn't played for like 9 straight days. UCF comes up on the short end of the stick, 62-55. An abysmal first half for UCF in that game. That shot 31%. They ended up rebounding and shooting 32%. So good news for UCF there. Tight turnaround, and they head to Houston on Sunday, where Houston got off to a pretty good start. At one time was up by 4 touchdowns early in the first half. UCF battled back, but ends up losing 75-58. Mike, the basketball program has been in some turmoil. There have been some cancellations of games, obviously some concerns with COVID. Some names are being reported as guys who had tested positive or were positive. And so a shorter rotation for UCF has been even shorter of late. Obviously, the guys had to quarantine for a period of time and weren't able to even practice. And so 2 back-to-back games where UCF just did not look like they were in it. Isn't really surprising given all those circumstances, Mike, but season started off so good. We were feeling really good about where we were. Now we're 3-5 and 1-4 overall in conference. and we're coming off a really bad loss at Houston. Where do you want to go from here, Mike? There's a lot to unpack. What's the most concerning thing so far for you over these last couple of games?
Oh, the season's going off the rails already. Just not having any rhythm at all on offense. I mean, I guess you want to say it's expected coming off the COVID break, but that game in Temple was just ugly, man. Ugly. And then it looked like we were starting to find ourselves there at the end of the first half. Hit some shots, took a lead, and then they ended up tying it on a 3 right before half. And then in the second half, these guys kind of kicked our ass. We're lucky to be even in the game at the end. They were keeping us in it by missing their free throws. And we took a 10-point lead down all the way down to 3. And it looks like we're going to have a chance to tie the game or take the lead late. And Darren Green steps out of bounds. Game over. Horrible way to lose to a bad team. Temple is not a good team. I mean, that's a game, looking at the schedule coming in, we thought we should win. And that was the one game that we should win in this set of 5-6 games against really tough teams. And we saw it on Sunday with Houston, a team that we know is really good, and a team that we battled with earlier in the year and gave a very tough fight to. They just kicked the crap out of us from the start of the game, showed how they were on a different level than we are right now. And I don't know where to go with this basketball team right now. I'm kind of checking out, to be honest. I'm scared of where the team is going. It's not a good run for us right now, and I don't know what we have to do to fix it. And there's still lots of season left. There's still time to turn the season around and end positively. And if we can play these games, we can still get on a run here and do something. But it's not looking good for our guys right now.
It doesn't get any easier. So Saturday, SMU, then ECU, then Wichita State, then 2 games and 3 days at Memphis. So the next 5 do not get any easier for UCF. And, the Temple game was interesting to your point. It was kind of a sluggish game throughout, tied 27 at halftime. Neither team was really playing great there in the first half. Temple only shot 32%. UCF shot 31%. Second half, Temple played a lot better, at least shot it a lot better from the floor and from 3. UCF did not, only 1 of 8 from 3 in the second half. Darren Green actually played really well, Mike. He was 3 or 4 from 3, 17 points. Obviously, he had that, the one play towards the end there. And UCF was in there for a while, Mike, but it just felt like they didn't have anything to really summon it, and we were not shooting well. Brandon Mahan, who was just like he was on fire to begin the season, Mike. He was 1 for 9 against Temple, 4 points only. Only Darren Green and Isaiah Adams actually ended up scoring in double figures with 17 apiece. It just looked like a game where UCF was hanging around, going through the motions, and just came up short at the end, Mike. But then the Houston game, oy vey. I mean, we ended up down 45-19 at halftime. It was just troubling. They got behind early, and it just looked like they just did not have any firepower to even respond. Houston was getting everything they wanted on the offensive side of the ball. They were rebounding when they needed to. We were just chucking the ball all over the place. 20 turnovers as a team for the game, and we got behind quick. Second half, UCF played better. They actually outscored Houston in the second half, which isn't probably saying much because Houston, I'm sure, let their foot off the gas a little bit, but you just didn't see a spark. It didn't seem like the team really had any cohesion on offense. Didn't look like they knew what system they were running. Looks like they were kind of dribbling out the shot clock, moving around a little bit, and then someone throwing up a bad shot in the end. And maybe you can chalk that up to lack of practice time, lack of time for this team to gel. Again, injuries kind of floating people in and out. Darius Perry did not play these last 2 games. Tony Johnson obviously has been out for most of the season. C.J. Walker did play, Mike, 27 minutes against Houston, 0 points. C.J. Walker took 1 shot, and he missed it. So obviously offensively, he only had 3 rebounds, so he's got to impact the game more. Sean Mobley took 4 shots, only 2 points. Actually, Jamil Reynolds, Mike, played really well. He's a guy who, freshman big man, ended up scoring 14 points off the bench, 5 of 7 shooting. So maybe he's starting to find something, Mike. But it just seems like things just aren't clicking right now, and you kind of sort of understand it because the team's been through a ton of stuff lately. But it definitely feels like we are heading in a downward spiral quickly, unless Dawkins can get these guys kind of re-energized and find some cohesion and some offensive continuity for everybody.
Yeah, Brendan Mahan has been a mystery, man. The guy started off the season so hot. The game against Florida State, one of the best performances you'll ever see. I named my freaking dog after the guy. And since then, he hasn't done anything. Ever since the Cal game, the Cows, I think, had the blueprint on how to shut him down. And since then, he hasn't done anything. C.J. Walker, you mentioned, the guy just looks lost on offense. I love his energy. I love the way he plays defense. I love the way he goes after rebounds and blocks shots. But on offense, he's just completely out of whack at all times. I don't know what to do with him. Isaiah Adams has been the bright spot of the team this year so far. I guess COVID has, you got to say, it's played a role in this. And I don't know which guys were affected and how they're feeling afterwards. It's got to have some kind of effect on your conditioning, I would think, and your breathing. I mean, it's a respiratory disease. So who knows how these guys are recovering from that. If that's playing a big part in this. But the team itself just looks out of whack. It looks like a team that hasn't played together in a couple weeks and going against teams that are in mid-season form, and that's what's going to happen. Just bad break for the season. This is just a throwaway year for me now at this point. As long as we get guys like Isaiah Adams and Darren Green to get some good experience and hopefully build some chemistry between these other guys going into the next season.
Yeah, we talked to later in the show. We have an interview with Brandon Alexander, football player from UCF, and one of the things that he told us, which was really interesting, was essentially that team that was so successful in 2013. He feels like they were successful because they took their lumps, in 2011, and a lot of them were freshmen and playing for the first time, and just out there just taking live action, and that's what ended up, he thinks helping them, springboard to the team that they are. Or became in 2013, and maybe the same will be true of this basketball team. Like maybe this is the year some of these guys, some of these younger guys, will get an opportunity to sort of grow and develop together, learn together, take their lumps, and maybe things turn around, coming into later in the season into next year. I don't know what the tournament options look like for UCF. Obviously, NIT doesn't even look like a possibility unless they go on some sort of a run. I don't know if there'll be other tournaments to play in. But maybe UCF gets hot down the stretch and makes some noise, and it's a springboard for 2021. Depends on who's coming back. Obviously, we know Darren Green tested NBA waters. Will that be a thing again? Isaiah Adams looks like he's got some potential. Brandon Mahan will essentially, I assume, leave at this point. I guess, did basketball players get a free year too as well? That's correct, right? They get a free COVID year?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I believe everybody does.
Brandon Mahan could have opted to come back, I guess, if he really wanted to. So, maybe this is just the year that these guys play hard. And that's kind of what I tweeted out during the game, Mike, is we were getting just our ass kicked at halftime. And what I tweeted out was essentially like, just use that second half like practice. Johnny should use that as an extension of practice. Usually in a lot of practices, a lot of teams, at least once a week, you'll go kind of full court scrimmage, 5-on-5, shirts for skins kind of thing. And just use that as a time to get some live reps in, for guys who hadn't practiced, hadn't played. I'm encouraged that they did that, Mike. They played better in the second half. There was no way they were going to end up, cutting the deficit. But I think that's really what this team needs, is just time. And unfortunately, a lot of it's just not on their side right now. We're already in late January, and a tough part of the schedule coming up. And before you know it, it's conference tournament time. So, this certainly could be a build for the future type of year.
Yeah, the other concerning thing about this team is the turnovers.
Yeah.
They turn the ball over way too much. I know we're playing without a true point guard. Fuller's doing the best he can, but not having Tony Johnson out there this season has been a killer, and it shows, man. Turning the ball over, you just can't do it. You can't do it. You give the other team that many more possessions and that many more shots than you. It's a killer, and we're playing from behind now too much. And us starting off remember the season, we were the best team in the first 10 minutes of a game. Not Phil's case in the last couple games, especially the Houston game. We were the worst team in the first 5 minutes of that game.
Well, this team in particular cannot turn the ball over, because I don't think we're good enough offensively to overcome those. Right? Sometimes you can turn the ball over, but you can shoot your way back into the game or something. We just don't have that kind of team, unfortunately, where we're able to do that. At UCF's averaging 14 turnovers a game right now. That's just, we just can't overcome that, week in and week out, game in and game out. And the rotation has just been all over the place, Mike. There's only three guys who have played all 8 games. Mahan, Darren Green Jr., and Dre Fuller have played in all 8 games. Everybody else has missed a game here. I'm sorry. It's at the back. Sean Mobley's played in 8 games too. Sorry. I lied. and CJ Walker. All right. I was just kidding. 5 guys played 8 games. But only 3 guys have started all 8 games. We've had different starting lineups. We've had some guys getting some minutes, some guys not getting minutes. We saw a 7-man rotation. Then at Temple, we saw 9 guys get in with Doumbia, who, by the way, please stop shooting 3-pointers. And Avery Diggs also got some time. But guys have been in and out of the lineup. Just has been a weird year, and it just seems like UCF is just not able to get any sort of chemistry at all. Again, four straight losses in a row. The last one probably the most concerning, being down that much, and a lot to be turned around here, Mike. But certainly you could write the season off and say, okay, this is probably not going to be the season we thought it was when we were sitting 3-1 after back-to-back wins at Florida State and Cincinnati. We thought we were poised for more. Even the Houston game we lost, we were right there. And these last 3, again, obviously UCF's played 3 games in January so far, which is due to the COVID stuff. But hang in there, I guess. See what we got. It's a good time to kind of see what Dawkins is made up. Can you take a young team and can you start building some of the skills in these guys?
We're a softball school now.
we're women's basketball school now. They're actually playing pretty well.
Yeah, we claimed to be a basketball school earlier this season. It's not turning out to be that this season.
Are we a baseball school?
But like I said, we could be a baseball school.
Okay.
I think the rankings came out today, and we did not make the rankings, but only East Carolina, I believe, was the only American Conference team in the top 25. But I think we play better when that happens. Baseball seems to be one of those sports where when we get too much praise, then we kind of get knocked down. But when we start the year off, when nobody's expecting stuff out of us, that's when we have our best season. So, let's see. We'll have to do a baseball breakdown in the next couple weeks.
Well, yeah, baseball breakdown coming up in the next couple of weeks. But what's coming up now? Quick break. We got some questions from the audience. Mike and I'll take your questions after this quick commercial break. Sons of UCF. Just coming right back. All right, we're back. This is where you get to program the show because Mike and I were too lazy to do it ourselves. We went to the Twitter mailbag and asked for your questions, and we got a few. So, Mike, let's run through these here in no particular order. This is from our friend at UCF MSU Clemson. She wants to know, why are so many UCF fans also Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans? She's confused because the Cows play in that stadium.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. UCF is located in Orlando, and Tampa is the closest NFL team to Orlando. I think that's basically the reason. You got Jacksonville is what, a 3-hour drive. You got Miami. Dolphins are about a 3-hour drive away, and Tampa's the closest team. I really don't have another explanation for it other than a lot of UCF alumni are from the area.
Don't forget, UCF is Tampa's hometown team, so there's also that tie in there. Yeah, I think it's a geographic thing would be my guess. If you grew up in that area, that's probably your team to root for. And obviously this is their opportunity to shine, Mike. They're in the NFC Championship game against Aaron Rodgers. Let's see how that turns out. All right, we got a few other ones here. This one's from at Charjon3. He's got like 3 questions here, Mike. We'll just do these rapid fire. A, do you think McKenzie would have lost a QB competition to Dillon Gabriel?
Ooh. Mackenzie Milton doesn't lose anything. He doesn't lose football games. He doesn't lose QB competitions. It would be very tough, man. Gabriel is Heupel's guy. We all know that. But if Mackenzie Milton is 100%, I think he's got the job.
Well, this one's interesting. Did KZ quit on UCF or saw the writing on the wall regarding the direction of the program?
No, I don't think either. I think what he says is the truth. I mean, Dillon Gabriel has had a great 2 seasons. I mean, put the records aside, as a quarterback, he's done fantastic. Better than the first 2 years. Well, not first, I guess not second year Mackenzie Milton, but stats-wise, yards-wise, and touchdowns and all that stuff, yes, he has. Better freshman year for sure. And McKenzie just didn't want to have a quarterback battle with him. It was one of his best friends. He sees that it's his team now, and McKenzie just wanted to step aside and start somewhere else. I don't think it's because he sees UCF is on the decline, because I still think of us as a better football team than Florida State. Florida State was not good the last few years. So I think some people are just reading too much into it.
Let me take these two back to back for you. So would KZ have lost to Dylan Gabriel? I think it depends on the offensive system, Mike. I feel like I can't see KZ running the exact same system that Dylan Gabriel runs just because of how dynamic a player he was. Now, obviously, coming off an injury, maybe that's different, but I think it would depend on what system Heupel puts in. If Heupel's running that same system he's running now, I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't suit McKenzie's strength. I think he's a playmaker, a guy with a ball in his hands who can just draw stuff in the dirt and make it come to life. So I wonder what the system would have been. That would have changed my narrative. Did KZ quit on UCF? I don't think he quit on UCF. I think he, like you said, I think he recognized that he had an opportunity to go and give it one last try someplace and do something he wanted to do. I think he's 23 years old at this point. All of his classmates had already kind of left UCF or were leaving UCF. I think he wanted a fresh start, and took an opportunity and ran with it. So I don't know that I call it quitting on UCF. I think he, it says writing on the wall regarding the direction of the program. I think he just saw the writing on the wall in the direction of his life and where he wanted to go, and recognized he may have one good shot to get back out there and give this thing everything he's got. And I think that was the direction. The next question that Charge on 3 asks is, did Heupel make the right choice? Now, that pre-assumes that Heupel's the one who said, Dylan, you stay, McKenzie, you go, which it doesn't sound like that happened, Mike. But so did Heupel make the right choice, I guess, by not getting McKenzie to stay, even though we heard that he did indeed try very hard to get McKenzie to stay?
So you're telling me if Heupel could have said, hey, McKenzie's coming back and Dylan, you're free to transfer. Dylan can go somewhere else. People would have been happy with that or okay with that if that meant McKenzie's back for one more year instead of Dylan Gabriel not maybe here for 2.
It's a great question. It depends on what day of the message board you read.
I don't think so. So one, I don't think it was Heupel's decision. Another reason for McKenzie to leave is for him to prove he can do it in a different system and not be considered a system quarterback. Go to a more traditional offense and run stuff out of a huddle and do that. And that's just another thing he can prove to scouts. And maybe that was a big part of his decision too, to leave.
Last one from Charge on 3. Will we make it to the conference championship game next year?
Cool. I mean, every year I say we should be in that game, or at least in contention for that game. It's going to come down to, I want to see the schedule first. I mean, we know that who we're playing on at home and on the road, but when are we playing these games? That Cincinnati game, is that going to be a November game, a late November game in Cincinnati? That's going to be a tough one. I kind of want to see what the schedule looks like before I can answer that. But the team has some talent coming back. Obviously, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. So, or in our opinion, the best quarterback in the conference. So, yes, we should be in the conference championship game.
I also have to know, I assume we're sticking with the current format. I know there's rumors that the American Conference is talking to other schools, Boise, San Diego, all these other places. Assuming the format stays as it is, where it's basically one team and the top 2 teams get in, one conference rather, and the top 2 teams get in, that obviously changes the narrative. At this point, Mike, you have to say Cincinnati's the favorite, right? I mean, they're returning pretty much everybody. They're coming off a great season, so you have to say Cincinnati's probably the favorite. Tulsa, obviously played really well, and we saw how good they were. So I would say we should be in the mix, but I don't think it's a slam dunk that we just pencil ourselves in there right now. Do we have the talent? Do we have everything we need? Probably, but that hasn't gotten us there the last 2 years. So right now, I think it's probably more likely that we're not in the game than we are, but I could be changed if I saw schedules and find out more about what other schools were doing. But right now, I don't know that I would say it's a slam dunk by any stretch.
Cincinnati is definitely going to be the favorite going into the season, but there's 2 spots in there for the championship game. If you're penciling them in for one, then it's going to be between us and Tulsa and Memphis. And who else in this conference?
I mean, Houston can always maybe get their act together. You never know what they're going to do. Memphis actually interesting because they're losing a lot of guys to the transfer portal, but then they picked up a lot of guys from said transfer portal. So, you never know what you're going to get there.
Memphis did not finish the season well.
No.
I mean, they had the game against us, and after that, they kind of went in the tank a little bit. You think the Cows are going to be improved next year?
Not that improved.
Maybe,
Navy's always
exactly.
tough. I mean, just yeah, it's a possibility. Again, we should be in the mix, but I don't know that anybody would put their hand in a Bible right now and say for sure we're going to be in the championship game. I just don't know that that's where we want to go. At Golden Knight _2, do you expect the defense to improve next year with Randy still at the helm, or are we expecting more Boca Bowl type performances?
I sure hope not. Improve. I don't think it could get worse from the last couple of weeks there. So there's got to be some kind of improvement. Yes, I do expect them to improve. I mean, we did play with a whole new. We basically played with two different defenses this year. The defense that started the season and the defense at the end of the year. We had half the team kicked off. So that you got to give them some kind of credit for that. We got a lot of young guys that had to get experience there late in the year. And like we mentioned, Brendan Alexander mentioned, sometimes that pays off the next year and the year after. So let's not write these guys off. A lot of guys are going to learn and grow from this season and should be improved for next year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to hope we're going to get better, right? I mean, we had a lot of young guys get some time, and you never know how that's going to pan out when it's all said and done. So you would hope that we would make some improvements, but it also depends. I think the other thing that's interesting is we saw the team get a little bit better defensively once some of the changes took place, and basically all the upperclassmen were removed from the team. You saw the young guys kind of step up and scrap, and maybe. Maybe this is what this team is destined to be, as a bunch of kids who are just going to fight and scrap and play hard. And maybe we don't have the big names and some of the guys we've been used to, but that doesn't necessarily mean that our defense won't be better. You got to hope it'd be a little bit better. But again, same thing I just said the question before. Last couple of things we saw from the defense weren't great. You got to wonder what Randy and the staff can have up their sleeve and who's going to emerge. But you got to hope you'd see at least a little bit of improvement, just a little bit, hopefully.
Well, I mean, as ugly as the Boca Bowl was, and it was disgusting, just remember, before we went undefeated, we had the Cure Bowl, which was one of the uglier games we've ever played to. And nobody saw that team going from that to undefeated. So it's really nothing you can predict right now. Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Brian Peterson at Brian W. Peterson. Mike, Brian follows us a ton. He's always on, all of our broadcasts and stuff. Always asks a lot of questions. So I know Brian is a hardcore UCF fan. So when he asks this question, Mike, I think you really need your help here. Why should I be excited about UCF football in 2021, knowing we'll somehow shoot ourselves in the foot again and miss the AAC championship game in a New Year's Six bowl game? Can you help Brian out? He's looking for some hope, Mike.
How old is Brian? How long has he been around?
He looks. I mean, looking at his picture here, he went to two schools. Looks like he got some. Yeah, he looks like he's a husband, a father. I mean, Brian looks like he's maybe around our age, maybe a little bit younger.
Well, then he should know better because.
Okay, Brian's been scolded. Okay.
Why do you get excited for UCF football? Because it's UCF football. Because we always get excited, even back when we were in school in our day. We were known for shooting ourselves in the foot and blowing big games and never winning the big one, right? We would blow the Auburn game. We would blow the Georgia game, all kinds of games that we would just blow year after year after year. But guess what? The next season, me, you, and all of us from our time, we'd be ready to go the very next year, and we'd be excited about the team again. And that's just what it is. That's the addiction that we have as UCF fans. Because we didn't even get to go to many games this year. Some people went to some games this year, but COVID put a real dent in it. People have now missed the whole season of football. People that made it a point to go to every game every year, or at least one game every year, couldn't go to a game this year. So why are you going to be excited? Because we kick off the season in September, I believe 4th or 5th next year, against Boise State at home. That's why you're excited. Because we got Dylan Gabriel, and we got an exciting offense, and we got it's just even if we had Rob Calabrese and a boring offense, I'd still be excited because it's UCF football starting September 4th.
Seemed like a cheap shot on Rob Calabrese. He got the Jets job. He's going to be on the Jets staff.
Yeah.
It was announced today. Good for Rob. Listen, the best day of the year and in any sport, you know what, Mike, is opening day, right? Because there's so much hope. You never know what's going to happen. There are seasons where 2017 is a perfect example. Not a season I think we all went into it saying, hey, this is going to be an undefeated year. And all of a sudden things transpire and look where it heads. So, you never know. I think the hope is always the kind of the feeling that you have to have. You have to have, the mindset that this is going to be our year and we're going to do this. And yeah, you're probably going to, be in for a letdown because there's really only 1 or 2 or 3 teams at the end of the year that can go, hey, this is a great year for us. But that's what the hope's all about. You know what I mean? You got to have the hope.
Tell me how many people came into this season saying, hey, Coastal Carolina is going to have a great year this year. Even the Coastal Carolina fans couldn't have seen what was going to happen this season. So we've seen it happen at UCF before. We've had great seasons in the past, 2013, 2017, 2018, and that's recent. So there's plenty of reason to be excited for UCF football.
All right, then we got at Kilotone 407. He's got a few questions. His question here is way too early depth chart. I don't know what that means, Mike. I think obviously he's looking at probably the too deep across the board. What we don't know, maybe what we do know is obviously we do know the offensive line's returning the bulk of the team there. We do know obviously Dylan Gabriel is going to be back behind under center. At the running back spot, I think we know Bentavious Thompson is at least slated to be the man right now, and probably the rotation of the young guys behind him. The receivers all up for a crapshoot because we don't yet know who that's going to look like. I think tight ends, I think we know Hescock and Marsh Wojan are going to be the guys. On the defensive side, Mike, is going to be a complete toss-up right now. I think linebacker-wise, we know we have Gilliard coming back. We know we have Jean Baptiste. We know we have Bethune. Secondary-wise, we have Gaines who will be back there again. But everything in between, Mike, is going to really be interesting to see who ends up shaking out to be on that depth chart.
This guy wants us to do the too deep depth chart show now in January.
It. So he's ready. I think I just did it too, actually.
There you go.
I just handled it.
And the roster is not even complete yet. We still have another signing day to come. We still have the transfer portal to deal with. And who knows? We had guys that transferred in last year that didn't even get to play this year that should be ready to go for this next year. So Jaden Francois and Deontay Marks and those guys. I mean, people forget about that. And they'll be on the team now this coming season. So you got to add them in there. I'm not prepared to do the too deep depth chart 9 months from the kickoff.
Let's check back later. But I think the 2 areas that it's going to be interesting, Mike, will be probably the D line and the secondary, and I guess the receivers as well. Like those will be the spots where right now there's probably more unknowns than any other position, and so those are the ones I think as we learn more about who's on campus, who's coming to UCF, maybe grad transfers. I think then we'll know more about what that looks like. But thanks, Tony, for the question, and thanks everybody for the questions. We always enjoy taking a few questions from all of you out there and talking about the things that you guys want to hear about. Coming up next, Mike, we have 2 back-to-back interviews. It's kind of a rarity here on the Sons of UCF to do double interviews. We have that for you tonight. Sit tight. Interview number 1 coming right after this.
The Sons have a new interview. Listen up.
All right, so we've got one of the bigger humans we've ever had on the show joining us here tonight. You saw this guy on the line. He played actually all over the field, which is a really interesting story we want to get into. And he played the last 2 seasons at UCF, got there in 2018. And happy to have Christopher Deloach joining us tonight on the show. Christopher, first off, thanks for taking some time to join us on the show tonight.
No problem.
Let's start at the beginning for your UCF career. You committed to UCF in December of 2017. I know you had committed to Southern Miss, and then you changed your mind and went to UCF. And that was a weird time in UCF history because that was kind of the in-between time between the Frost staff leaving and the Heupel staff coming on board. So can you take us through your recruitment? Who recruited you, and how did you ultimately decide that you want to come to UCF?
Okay, so Coach Ellaby and Coach Heupel recruited me with, Coach Ellaby and Coach Heupel recruited me. And they kind of jumped in late, but I guess it was more so Coach Ellaby because Coach Ellaby the one who flew down to Mississippi and did an in-home visit. So, he came to my house, out of my house and all of that. And, it was a weird time because I was already committed. And when Coach Ellaby did fly down to the house, I had already met with a couple other schools that day because I was still meeting with schools up until signing day. And Coach Ellerby came a little later, and my mama was already tired. She was stressed out, and I probably was like on my third school of the day. And she just told me, she was like, no more school. She was like, I can't do it. She was more worn out than I was. And I had to beg her to let Coach Ellerby. I was like, Mom, just one more, just hear what they got to say. So, and she ended up liking UCF, more than anybody. And but let me backtrack. When I took my official visit to Southern Miss, that's when I had got the offer from UCF. Coach Hype actually called me while I was on my official visit. So out of respect with Southern Miss and me being committed to him, I actually didn't engage in conversation with Coach Hype. I kind of just told him what was going on, and he understood. So I told him, I talked to him once I leave the visit, just out of respect for Southern Miss. So he called me while I was there, and that Sunday when I was headed back home is when I like announced the visit. I mean the offer from UCF to the public, and from there is when I started, thinking about my decision.
How much did that 2017 season, which obviously was UCF's best ever, undefeated at that point, up until this time they were on the way to the Peach Bowl, which cemented the undefeated season. How much did the success that year play into your decision to even consider UCF at that point?
Actually, I wasn't really keeping up with UCF. I'll be honest, I wasn't really paying too much attention because my mind was kind of set on where I was going, but obviously I was getting recruited by Coach Frost staff, so I was kind of in tune, but I wasn't always all the way dialed in on what they were doing that year. But Coach Buddy Hill, am I saying it right? I think he was the running back. He was the running backs coach at that time.
Yep.
Yeah, he had came down to Mississippi to talk to me, but at JUCO, I stayed a couple hours away, so whenever the weekend came, I was ready to get home, and I forgot he was coming down because I was just in contact with so many schools, and I had left and went home, and he actually came up to the field house, and I'm 2 hours away, and so I was already UCF was kind of already on my radar, but they never really pulled the trigger. I guess they was waiting on. I'm not really sure who had committed before me. Was it? It might have been Nigel. I'm not sure, but I guess they was waiting to see what he was gonna do. But yeah. So, but I wasn't really always dialed in on UCF on what they was doing. But once Hype offered me, and then that's when I started paying a little more attention.
Well, you mentioned you previous to UCF, you played at East Central Community College in Mississippi. Everybody's probably seen like the Netflix stuff on Last Chance U, all that stuff. But for you, was there a big change? What was the biggest change for you jumping from kind of a JUCO school to a D1 school?
Man, everything, like literally everything, from the living conditions, the eating, the training, just everything. Like everything went from 0 to 100. Like literally, like everything was just so much better, and it just made me appreciate everything. JUCO it's such a grind, and a lot of people don't know, like you're really not on full scholarship. So it was just hard. Like some nights it was a struggle to find out what I was gonna eat. I was sleeping on almost a dresser kind of. Like it was a twin size bed. Like I was hanging off the bed. Like it was the conditions was horrible, but I wouldn't go back and change a thing. And I just feel like I just feel like my time at East Central just helped develop me and prepare me for a lot of things mentally, not just with football, but how I handle and conduct myself off the field also. But once I got to UCF, everything was just life changing. Like the living conditions, the Garvey Center, being able to get money for food. Like it was, it was really a good experience for me.
When you came in, you were originally recruited as a tight end, correct? So what was that like trying to learn the Heupel offense coming over?
I mean, it was fine, and man, I mean, I just not
Did you
okay.
want to
So
stick at tight end?
okay, a little part of me did because I had so much time investing into tight end. So a little part of me did want to stick at tight end. But what a lot of people don't know, it was my decision to actually go to the defensive line. Coach Height and Coach John Cooper at the time, they tried to persuade me not to, but I kind of had my mind set up that I wanted to go back to defense.
But the offense, when you came in, were you I mean, you said you weren't keeping close track of UCF. Did you know much about Heupel's offense? Did you know about the speed that he was running at and all that stuff?
I did not. So I kind of went off. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I was in tune with Missouri because of I can't even pronounce the tight end name. So, but I was in tune with them, and I kind of thought Coach Heupel was going to bring that that style of offense, and me not being real knowledgeable on the conference, in Missouri they ran a lot of two tight end sets, and it's the SEC, so essentially if you want to move the ball in the SEC, you're going to, especially against some of those powerhouse teams in the SEC, you're going to need to bring in extra bodies, bigger bodies to help move the ball, and that opened up a lot of passing game. That opened up the passing game for the tight ends in the Missouri offense. So I was kind of going off that track record, but I should have been going off Oklahoma, I guess, because I guess that's pretty much the style of offense he kind of brought into place. And just me being the traditional type tight end, it just wasn't fitting my playing style, and I seen that early, so that's why I kind of wanted to go back to defensive end.
When you joined the team in 2018, it was an adjustment for the whole team at the time. Frost had just left, so nobody really knew what to expect when Heupel was coming in. So, what was the vibe around the team like in the locker room that year? People were kind of off guard. They didn't know what to expect out of Heupel.
One thing I can say, I feel like I know Coach Frost personally. Like, man, that team loved Coach Frost. And just all the stores, like they loved Coach Frost. Like he was, like they were so invested into Coach Frost. I heard so many stories about him, and but it was a bit of a adjustment. Change is always, change is never easy. So yeah, I think early on, I think early on, like it took a lot of trust. It took a lot of trust. So, but it eventually everybody got it figured out.
In that offseason, you see Heupel I guess we see on social media posting pictures like there's a barbecue with the offense, a barbecue with the defense, and he's trying to get guys together and trying to get to know him. Did you ever get the sense like you ever really got to know the guy? Or was that kind of just like, he tried, but you never really got to see his true personality?
I think in a professional business, I really think you don't actually get to know someone, 100%. Like I feel like, and I just feel like that's in all aspects. Like we'll never know Coach Hype how his wife and kids know him clearly, and obviously they'll never know us how our parents know us. So, even if you think you know someone, like it's still up in the air. Like it's still up for grabs on whether or not you truly really know them. But at the end of the day, everybody have one common goal, and that's what really gel everybody. That's what really bring everybody together to try to do the best that they can.
You talked about going to the coaches in that 2019 year and sort of asking and offering to go play defense. Who did you go talk to specifically about that? And were you concerned that maybe they would turn you down and you may have to leave UCF, or were you pretty comfortable that you thought you could convince them to let you take some snaps on the defensive side?
I thought I was pretty confident, but also, I did have in the back of my mind where if they do say no, I just don't, transfer elsewhere. But first I went to Coach Cooper. But my first year, so I was on scout team. And me I actually was doing pretty well at tight end, but I just feel like with Cougs coming back and Jake being one of the older guys, like it really wasn't much of an opportunity for me to. So even though I was doing well, like I was looking good at tight end in practice, I just felt like, man, by the time I do get a shot, it'll be time for me to leave. Like I'll be on my way out the door. So I was like, man, I just need to go and make that adjustment. So me over on scout team, I was getting word that like in the defensive meetings, and big shout out to Coach Ivy. But Coach Ivy was one of the ones who actually persuaded me to come on over, because I was getting word that in the defensive staff meetings that they was like, that I was a big guy and I was strong, and Coach Burnham might have actually like said a couple things about me. So I was like, okay, that's how they feel. So I was like, you know what? Let me go X, because I went to my only offer out of high school at tight end was East Central. Well, they recruited me hard, but pretty much everyone else wanted me at defensive end. So that's what really made me go back to defensive end, and I guess it ended up working out.
What were those growing pains like for you? Obviously, switching over from the other side of the ball, learning, defensive concepts. Take us through kind of the growing pains of you, starting over there and what you kind of had to go through to get yourself up to speed.
First off, I had to transform my body. I had to slim down. I had to work on my explosiveness, like being explosive off the ball. So that, and just learning a whole new terminology, like just learning a whole new playbook, signals. Like that was pretty much my biggest growing pains. But it kind of came easy, because I knew so much about offense, like with backs, like with sets or whatever. So I kind of that helped me out a lot. And even in games, like I made all the plays that came my way, but I didn't make a crazy amount. But I always did my job. I always did what I had to do. And whenever there was an opportunity to make a play, I made it. And I more so played with more IQ than anything, because I was an offensive guy at one point.
You said you had to slim down. I would think it'd be the opposite, right? That you'd have to bulk up, but you had to slim down to play on the D line.
Not actually slim down. I guess just tone my body up. I was actually a little bigger at tight end.
How much were you weighing then?
I was weighing 260 maybe. A little bit over 260. And
cut down?
Yeah, I cut down. I got down to like 250 at one. I was down to like 250.
In 2017 and 18, we only lose one game total, right? So then we go into the 2019 season, and it looks like we're starting the same way. With the blowout of Stanford, and we're ranked as high as we are. Everybody's all high. We're thinking, hey, we're going to go undefeated for the third regular season in a row. And then we lose a couple tough games. We lose the Pittsburgh game, we lose the Cincinnati game. What was the locker room like after those games? Did you sense that anybody was kind of I don't know, losing faith, or what was going on there? Were people kind of just coming unraveled a little bit after that?
Yeah, emotions was pretty high, because being at the top like that for so long, the past couple seasons, and then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, everything just changed drastically. So, it was emotions was kind of, we still had a lot of guys on board, but we had a lot of guys like, man, like, what the hell is going on right now? But, Coach Hype, I'll never forget this. He was like, he told us we're everybody's Super Bowl. Like we got a target on our back every game. So every game we're gonna get everybody best. So I mean, it's hard. It's hard to every win in football is hard. So and just knowing how hyped up we were with the media and the whole championship thing, a lot of people didn't like that, and so we was just getting everybody best every week, and sometimes it comes a point where the big dogs fall, and that's what started happening.
All right, and then coming into this season, with all the COVID stuff going on, how much did that change the whole off season, and what were you expecting coming into the season? Did you expect that we were actually going to play all the games?
I definitely thought we were going to play all the games. COVID, when it first started coming about, no one really, a lot of people didn't take COVID serious. Like, so around spring ball, when we was getting word that it might get shut down, like we wasn't really taking it serious. So we was, and spring was actually going good. Like the team was looking good. And then, the whole shutdown. And then once they brought us back to campus, everybody was kind of questioning on whether or not they want to be there. And, obviously we had a lot of opt-outs, but it was still a lot of people that played that season that honestly was like, man, should I have even played this season, because of the circumstances. So, we were still like, it was just an unfortunate season. And, COVID just played COVID just played a big part on how things shaped up during the season.
So you think the season we had, the losses we had this year, directly related to guys maybe not preparing, thinking that they shouldn't even be playing this year?
Yeah, I can. I kind of don't want to make excuses, but I mean, I guess I kind of don't want to make excuses. So, but it is what it is, and I'm gonna be truthful about it. So yeah, COVID. I mean, and even with me being an older guy, like it was moments and times where I'm like, man, what we doing right now? Like just questioning on, like why are we even playing right now? And obviously, there might have been a lot of opt-outs across the boards everywhere for every program if players wasn't fearful that their scholarships would have been revoked coming back. And I know that they put in the rules saying if a player opts out, they have a roster spot for next year. But man, like you don't for sure know that. You might have a roster spot, but you might not have you might not be guaranteed them snaps next year. So it was kind of like, yeah, a lot of guys actually, it would have been a lot more opt-out, but it is what it is.
Is that kind of just you guys inferring that, or was anything the coaches said or what they were doing in practice made you feel that way? Or it's just you guys kind of putting the two and two together?
Nah, I just say that, like that big layoff. How long was it? 4 months.
Yeah.
4 months. I mean, I'm a father, so the first thing I did once I came back home, I got a job. So the last thing that was on my mind was, was working out and staying in shape for the season that we don't even know if we're going to play. So, and I guess, that was probably the focus for a lot of guys. Like, okay, well, what am I gonna do for 4 months? I mean, we might not even play. Like the NBA, NFL, like they all shut down. So who are we as college athletes to say that we're gonna play? So my focus was on providing for my family and making sure we had everything we needed. And some of the same for some of the other fathers on the team and some of the other players. They might have a situation going on back home where they might need to help provide things inside the home for their family, like with their mom or whatever the case may be. So a lot of the focus wasn't on football. And I'm not going to direct it and say that it was a lot of players probably would have opted out more directly correlated to what was going on with the coaching staff. I'm not going to put that blame on the coaching staff.
Well, going back on the field for a second, can you explain what the hell happens every time we play Tulsa? 2 years in a row that they had our number, and I think both years. I think if I'm being honest, I think we're the better team both years. But it just seems like weird crap happens and balls don't bounce our way. Can you explain Tulsa? How the hell does that happen 2 years in a row?
Man, Tulsa just, man, they're tough. Like they relentless. Like you actually got to play them for 4 quarters. You can have a 4-touchdown lead going into the 4th quarter with 10 minutes left, and you look up and you lose the game by 1 point. Man, you just got to play those guys for 4 quarters, and like they just don't give up, and they're stubborn. Like whatever their game plan is going into the game, they're going to stick with it. I know the first time we lost to them, they ran the ball 50 times, and I think they averaged like 1.2 yards a carry or something like that. That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Like we shut the run game down, but man. But yeah, like I mean, they got some ballers over there, and like them guys, like they don't quit. Like they might not be the most talented, most athletic, or whatever the case may be. Like they might not be appealing. Like once you just look at them, but you got to strap up. Like once you got to strap up once you step on across them white lines with them.
Well, if Tulsa wasn't bad enough in 2020, that next game we go to Memphis. And look, I know you're a defensive guy. You guys take pride in what you do, and you guys work hard. But Memphis puts up 50 on us. Take us into that game. Like how frustrated were you guys during the game? Were there things they were doing that you guys just couldn't expect? Was it just a break here or a break there? How frustrating was it? And kind of what were you guys talking to each other about on the sidelines throughout the Memphis game?
I think it was kind of frustrating. Obviously giving up a lot of points and just knowing that our offense did enough for us to win that game. Like just stopping them, just keeping them from scoring one extra touchdown, or just stopping them from converting them 2-point conversions, or whatever the case may be. But I think one of the most frustrating things was what we was getting beat on all year, and we just never seemed to figure it out. Like some type of routes in the middle of the field or some type of mesh routes, or that was pretty much the thing. Like we was just getting killed on mesh routes all years, and like we never can figure it out, and that's what teams exposed us with, and that's how we got beat. And obviously we was pretty young, in some spots on defense.
Yeah.
So, but we take the good with the bad.
We guys, you mentioned mesh routes. Was that something you guys were working on each week in practice? Was that like a focus kind of week in and week out, and you just kind of never were able to make an impact there?
Oh, it was definitely a focus, but we man, I don't know. I guess we can never just figure that part out.
Yeah, that laugh tells me there's a good story behind that being a focus. So, what was that practice like? That sounds like that was something you guys did all the time.
Like as far as like working on like certain things that was constantly killing us during the season.
Yeah.
I mean, we worked on it a lot. I mean, but what was that? Was we playing well, no, let me not say that. But we I mean, like like when we playing with young guys, like teams are gonna try to attack them and try to get them out of their comfort zone and try to confuse them with with certain things and certain looks and man, it just all came back to them type of routes.
Well, look, after that Memphis game, we're quasi media here, right? Mike and I aren't media guys, but we're quasi media. And after the game, everyone was freaking out. There was a lot of emotion. We saw some emotion on the sideline. A couple guys got in some pushing and shoving. There was some words exchanged. Can you take us in the locker room after that Memphis game? How quickly did you guys kind of get things squashed? And obviously you were a veteran on that team. You were a senior. You're a leader on that team. Kind of what were you taking as your role trying to bring the guys together after a real tough emotional loss like that?
You mentioned, I mean, just obviously, just telling the guys, look at it, it's not the end of the world. Like, we'll figure it out. And, at the end of the day, we got to come back tomorrow. We got to get right back to work and prepare for whoever the next team was. And, but, emotions was high, but at the end of the day, like we all still loved each other. And that's what a lot of guys don't see. Like they might see one little argument or disagreement that we have on the field, but they don't know the rapport and chemistry on what we build and what we had to go through, especially this year, like of what we had to go through for us to even get to that point where I can address somebody in a confrontational way where it might comes off wrong, like where it might comes off as bad intentions, like to the media, but I mean, like that's just how it is. Like, like for instance, like with the Quad and Obarski situation. I mean, Quad is one of the most loving guys on the team. Like that's my dog. I love him to death. Same with Obarski. And Quad, he jokes, have fun with everybody, even the specialists. Like they have fun all the time together. And it's just, they build up that type of relationship where they can do that. But obviously, it's a time and place because of how media is gonna run with it. But, guys don't see what goes on behind the scene where we can actually get in each other's face and address each other like that and just, and it still be love once we get back in the locker room.
So Quadrino Barsky got back to the locker room and just kind of squashed it right there and was over that quickly?
Yeah, it was squashed like before the next practice, and this is the thing. We never take it past football. We might fight in practice in a locker room, but after that, we can get to a little wrestling match and practice. As soon as we cross them gates, we might go eat somewhere together. We never let what happens, what goes on during our football time. We never let that affect our relationship past the white line. So, and a lot of people don't know that, but a lot of people who was actually in that type of environment, who actually played football and been around the team, they know.
You mentioned having to trust a lot of young guys on defense, especially late in the year. That was mainly because we had a lot of guys kicked off the team halfway through the year. Obviously, the incident they had that night. What was your reaction when you first found out about it? Did you know those guys were going out that night? Were you out that night? Maybe in a different car? Was there more players out that night? Or is it just those guys?
Nah. Nah, I'm just laughing because you asked me what's all out. Nah. Hey, look at man, I've been to one party since I've been in college, and it was after I graduated. I never went out, but nah, I actually didn't know they was going out, and if I did know, I probably would have encouraged them not to, but I mean, it was just It was just a strange season, and everybody was just getting tired of just being, you know, in a bubble, and you know, at the end of the day, everybody's still teenagers, and everybody makes mistakes or whatever, and I just hate how things turned out. I feel like the situation could have been handled a little better on the players' part and on the coaching staff part. Honestly, like I feel like everything could have been handled all around, better. Like especially, so.
You think
I
maybe
mean,
they didn't allow guys to come back, and maybe they should have? Maybe they could have given them another chance, or
I definitely feel like they should have been given another chance.
yeah. You think it was kind of just the media's reaction that kind of made them play their hand the way they did? They were kind of backed into a corner, maybe. Like when they have the videos come out, and it kind of puts the coaching staff in a situation where I think they have to make that decision. You think they wanted to make that decision, or they kind of were forced into it?
I just can't believe they wanted to make that decision. So I said it was kind of, I said they was forced into it. But I just wish things could have turned out better because man, Randy, Kenny, Mitch, AC, man, like I learned a lot from them, especially Randy and Kenny. Like those are my boys, and like they helped me, with my transition over to, on defense, like made me, feel comfortable, like just took me in, like with no problem. I'm talking about just helping me with the playbook. So, obviously my decision on saying, they shouldn't have been kicked off is more of a emotional one, but I really didn't understand, when guys have been, guys in the college football world have did a lot worse, and and stayed put. But at the end of the day, the coaches felt like the decision was for the better of the team, and I mean you can't fight that. And
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and and whenever coaches making a decision that you think is better for your team, as a player, like I can only respect that because I'm a father, and me and my household, like I have to make tough decisions on whether or not what I think is best for the household, on whether what time the kids, what time I put them to bed, or just whatever. So as a man, like you gotta respect on how they do things there. So
I know they're your friends and everything, but was part of you mad at these guys? I mean, in a regular season, I could see, I'm not a fool. I know kids are going to go out. You're 19, 20 years old. Every once in a while, you're going to go out. But in a season like this, where you guys are supposed to be quarantining, you mentioned yourself, you never went out. You never went to parties. And we talked to a couple other guys on the team that were kind of surprised. They didn't even know these guys were going out. They figured everybody was quarantining like them. When you found out these guys were out, were you a little bit mad at them for kind of putting the team at risk for the rest of the season?
I definitely want to say I was mad. I was kind of like, I guess more so like disappointed. Like, man, like y'all, like y'all are our leaders. Like you four, like y'all are our leaders. Randy and Kenny on the defensive line, y'all lead us. Like we go as y'all go. Mitch, the linebacker, go as you go, and AC obviously, whenever he make any type of play in the game, like he get us right, especially, man, he come down the field 20 miles per hour and smack somebody, like that gets us riled up. So I mean, it was kind of more so like, man, I kind of really just felt bad, but I understood because of what was going on. Like everybody was just so tired of being bound up.
All right, what can you help me learn about Randy Shannon? So we hear a lot from Coach Heupel, but Coach Shannon is kind of the quieter one. He doesn't do a lot of media. You don't hear a lot from him, so he's kind of like this figure that a lot of UCF fans don't know a lot about. Sometimes he gets a lot of grief from UCF fans. Talk to us about Randy Shannon. What's he like as a coach? What's he like as a person? And what's it like playing for him?
Everybody loves, Coach Shannon. Like, including myself, like Coach Shannon. So, everybody love, Coach Shannon. Like, it's not really much more I can say but that. Like, everybody love him. Like, man, he's so cool, so laid back. Like, man, like he, so understanding, and whatever you're going through as a player, you better believe like he right there with you, holding it down the whole way. So if you got problems back home, like you can go and talk to him, or just whatever. Like if you need anything that he can help out with, like all you gotta do is just ask him once, and he's gonna come through. And and his background and the way he was brought up, like a lot of players can just he can relate to a lot of players. And as players, like sometimes you want that, like from a coach. Like you want someone who's relatable, who can relate to what's going on back home, and like how you was brought up, and just all of that. And Coach Shannon just fit that whole mold as a coach, as far as like as a player is like what you're looking from as a coach. And so like whenever Coach Shannon speaks, like we listen. Whenever he chewing the defense out, getting on to us, like it's never someone getting into it with him or whatever. Like he he has the respect of of all the players on the team.
How would we talk a lot about Heupel's offense and kind of what they do on that side of the ball. How would you describe Randy Shannon's defense? Obviously, you guys had a lot of turnovers, so you were definitely a team that was able to turn the ball over a bunch. But how would you kind of describe Randy's defensive philosophy and the things that he's trying to get done on the defensive side of the ball?
Turnovers. We definitely emphasize turnovers. The way we drill like we have a turnover circuit. The way we drill turnover circuit in practice, like that's why we were so good, because he drilled it like so. Like before practice even start, we starting off with it. Before we even get into stretching, we starting off with a turnover circuit. So that was one of the big things he preached on. But I mean he run a scheme, like an NFL type scheme, and like the defense is really fun to play in it. But you really got to be on point, and as far as you really got to be locked in as far as your assignments, your alignment, and just communication across the board. And I feel like during the season we didn't communicate how we should, especially with a lot of young players, like them jumping into a bigger role so soon. Like it's like early on, that's one of the problems with freshmen. It's not their talent on whether or not they can make this play or make that play. It's their communication, communicating with another player. And there's one thing you really have to know in this offense, because it's just a simple thing with what the offense might do. They might start the running back in a pistol in a pistol alignment, and then they shift him up, and now he goes from a pistol back to a gun back, and then that might switch up three or four different things. That might have to switch up what I do as a defensive end, and I have to communicate with the rush that's over in the boundary on what he has to do now. And then now that might affect what the linebacker has to do as far as reading off what I'm going to do. And now that just make adjustments across the whole defense. So communication is a really huge part.
How much interaction does Coach Heupel have with the defense? I think one of the fan / media myths is that Heupel just handles the offense, Randy handles the defense, and they don't really interact a ton together. How involved is Coach Heupel on the defensive side of the ball? Is he in meetings? Is he giving you guys direction on stuff, or does he really leave Randy to handle the defensive stuff?
I'm not gonna say, like every now and then, like he might come and pop up in the meeting, but Coach Heupel, knows his defense there's been times or situations where he in practice where he was explaining to a player like, yeah, you're supposed to do this or do that right here, or like, look, when if an offense do this against you, you can do this, to help you out and what you're supposed to be doing. But Coach Shannon, for the most part, he has a lot of say so and how we do things on the defensive side of the ball. And Coach Hype is one of those type of players, like he trusts his coaching staff, so he's not going to interfere with what they got going on too much. So
what are the other?
Yeah, I mean.
Sorry, one of the other things
go ahead.
And one of the other things I'd love your feedback on is a lot of the other things that people say about the UCF system is that because the offense goes so fast and moves so quickly that it puts more strain on the defense, because you guys are on the field a bunch. You don't get a ton of rest on the sideline because a drive might be just a minute and a half of game time, and you guys got to get back on the field. From a player standpoint, did you feel that stress? Do you feel like the way or how quickly the offense moves that it does make you guys play defense a little bit differently because of that?
No, not. I say it doesn't make us change how we play defense, for the simple fact like we roll a lot of guys, and mainly part because of how fast offense is going, but it's just the next man up. So if we just had an 8-play drive and offense go out and go 3 and out in 30 seconds, or score in 10 seconds, we got to roll, or you right back out there. And I feel like Coach Burnham and Coach Shannon, Coach Martinez, like all of them like did a good job and managing the play count. So if the offense was out there for if the defense was out there for 6 plays at a time, and then offense score real quickly, the second unit might start to drive off, and then now the first group rotates in, and I think Coach Shannon and them did a good job with that, and going and practice, going up against them in practice, like you kind of used to it. And in practice, we might do 6-play reps to help us prepare for, like just the fast pace or whatever, and how we do it. But sometimes, it is times where like, man, especially me, like this season, I was, oh my God, it was time. I was all over the place. I was at D tackle, I was at DN, I was just everywhere. So it was times for me where I really didn't have a sub. Especially, like early on, I think, like when Randy had went down and Landon, like this was like early in the season, and Landon wasn't able to go, and Randy was like nicked up or whatever, and it was pretty much just me and offense to go 3 and out, and it's like, man, we just got off the field, but we got to strap them back up, like we got to go out here regardless and just try to get the ball back for the offense.
When you got here, you're joining an undefeated team. We went undefeated in the regular season your first year. And now these last couple of years, we've lost a couple tough games. We haven't been in the conference championship game for the last couple of years now. The fans are starting to panic. I think we got spoiled a little bit with those couple seasons. Now a couple losses. Everybody's jumping off ship and stuff. Do you feel like we're in a rebuilding stage? Where do you get the sense of the program is now?
No, definitely not in a rebuilding stage. Y'all seen guys like Ryan O'Keefe, Dollar Drop, Cam Good. Come on. Man, nah, I don't think it's a rebuilding stage because we got so many young guys, with experience. I mean, like I think next year, I think, man, next year gonna be a real good year. Like we got so many, and one thing I can say, like man, like they bought in, like they ready for next year. I can guarantee you that, like they ready. So I don't think it's a rebuilding stage because they already got the chemistry with the coaching staff. They know how Coach Height wants things ran inside the organization. How he want things handled. So nah, I don't think it's a rebuilding stage.
You put out a tweet the other day, something about not having fun anymore and it's time to go. Is that the main reason you're leaving? You have an extra year if you want it, right? Is there a reason why
Yeah, I have
you're
an
not
extra
coming
year.
back?
Man, I actually wasn't going to come back this year. I actually was done with it in 2019 after I had graduated. It was kind of, I was kind of more so, obviously me being a father, like my attention and my focus wasn't where it needed to be. Obviously, I still love the game, but I just know like my preparation and how I was going about my day-to-day business like was totally different from it started to change. And just me being a father, knowing I had other responsibilities to focus on. Like as soon as football was over with, I'm back to being a full-time student and a full-time parent. So man, that's stressful. That's stressful, especially with me being all the way in Florida and my family is all the way back home in Mississippi. So I guess me wanting to be a provider more so than anything. That's what kind of like took my focus off from football. And then it's like the COVID year, COVID hit, and man, you know, but yeah,
You see how fans can kind of jump to conclusions. They see a tweet like that. They see guys like Stretch Cradle transferring, and they're saying, "What's going on? Is there something going on in that locker room that we don't know about? Are guys not getting along with the coaching staff? Are you telling us everything's okay in there?"
yeah, I think everything's okay. I mean, guys, you know, some guys might just want to go home and just play close to the home. Some guys get homesick, and it's an adjustment for them. Like especially with guys being coming in at the age of 17, 18, 19, or however old they might be when they first come in. Guys might get a little homesick. Like I got homesick when I came. Like I was, man, I was ready to bounce. you know, like I got homesick, and guys might get homesick, or might just feel like they're not getting an opportunity, or either they they might not fit the scheme or the system. So a lot of guys do what's best for them, and coaches do the same thing. So I don't think players should be crucified because of them making a decision when a coach can up and leave during the middle of the year, or as soon as the season over with, and they get praised for it. So I just feel like players got to do what's best for them also. And even if it was them having a problem with the coaching staff, or things going on inside the locker room, I just feel like that that's for them to tell. Like that's for them to come out and say, well, things wasn't just getting along. And coaches and some personalities are not just are not meant to be around each other. Like some people just don't gel. Like it's 100 and plus athletes, and then we got a coaching staff, like including like GAs and everybody. Like it might be about what, maybe 30 or 20, or what, that number might be too big. But everybody's from different backgrounds, different walks of life. Everybody teaching on how they should handle situations, or just whatever the case might be different. And sometimes, it takes time for that to gel, or either it might not gel right away. But yeah, there's always going to be, things that happen where somebody can easily get it confused and say, "Oh, it's a problem going on," But nobody will never really know until that that person actually comes out and say, their reasoning for wanting to leave or go elsewhere.
All right, Christopher, you've been most gracious with your time, but we wrap up every interview around here. We ask 6 rapid fire questions. It could be about music, movies, sports, food. You never know what you're going to face. So we've got 6 hot rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready? Are you prepared for these questions?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, you can only pick one of these 3 things: pancakes, waffles, or French toast. Only pick one. What do you pick?
You said waffles, pancakes,
and French toast.
Ooh, I'm going for the pancakes. I love pancakes.
Like, are we going regular pancakes? We throwing some chocolate chips in there, blueberries?
No, regular pancakes. I like just regular pancakes.
We're OG pancakes, a little syrup and a little butter, and you're all set.
Yeah, I like mine made from scratch, though.
How many How many pancakes you putting down in one sitting?
Ooh, man, about 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
All right, me and Adam, we're actually kind of old guys. We're in our 40s now. We kind of forget how young you guys are sometimes. Do you even know what Y2K was?
Y2K?
Yeah.
Like B2K or Y2K?
No, Y2K.
Refresh my memory. What was that?
That was when the year turned to 2000. Everybody was freaking out. They thought all the computers were going to crash and stuff back then. What year were you born? You were probably not even born yet, right?
I was born in 96. Was that 2000?
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't 2010 when everybody.
No, it was 2000.
That was 2000. Yeah, it was 2000. It was 2000. You know what's crazy? I kind of, like being a child, you don't really worry about that. But like, I started, mom and them used to tell me stories and stuff like that. Yeah, I remember that. I just wasn't familiar with the term.
Yes. So, but you never had like a phone in your house that was connected to the wall, right? You always had mobile phones or phones you can at least walk around the house with.
No, we had a house phone growing up.
Yeah. But it wasn't stuck to the wall, right?
Oh no. Yeah. You can pick it up. No, it wasn't stuck to the wall.
Thanks for making us feel old, Mike. Christopher, I was not stalking your social media, but I noticed after you put your post out that you were probably done playing. You had a few responses, and a couple guys had the exact same response. And so I got to ask you this question, and I hope you can tell me the answer. One of the quotes, I think it was Daryl Mack, said, "May the slap go down in history." And then somebody was talking about that right hand. There's a story here, Christopher. I need to know what it is.
Nah, I can't share that story. I can't share that story.
Could you give me a hint? Just a little hint?
I can't do that.
Okay.
How about after we stop recording?
Yeah, after we stop recording, I need to hear that story.
I'll think about it.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
All right, you're from Mississippi. So what's your favorite kind of barbecue food?
I just had some barbecue fresh off work, got home. It was, man, I love burgers. I love, ribs. Let me see. Man. Everything, honestly. And I'm gonna go and say this right now. Mississippi got the best barbecue hands down. Don't nobody cook like Mississippi. I ate some barbecue in Florida one time. They gon' get on my head for saying this, but man, look here. They don't know how to barbecue in Florida. Down out of barbecue in Florida.
That's probably true.
No, I think you're right. But
Yeah.
what about when you guys go to trips to Memphis and stuff? Yeah, how's the barbecue compared to there?
Oh, man, Memphis right there. I got a couple family members in Memphis, so if I ever wanted something I had to taste for, all I had to do was just hit them up and, just tell them bring it to the hotel. But, obviously I didn't do that because of COVID. But when we went down this year, but yeah, Memphis got some good ball. And man, we consider Memphis part of Mississippi. Yeah. Us Mississippians, we consider Memphis part of Mississippi. So yes.
All right, that's close enough.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, last one for me. You mentioned obviously the future of UCF, in your opinion, was bright. Give me the name of one guy that maybe people aren't talking about next year. Maybe people didn't see a lot this year. Give me the name of a guy who you think is going to be a force to wreck with next year for UCF.
Man, I can give you a couple guys. I just can't get one. I don't want to show favoritism. Obviously, I'm gonna start with 33. I'm gonna start with Drop. I think, man, Drop got a high ceiling, and Drop gonna have a real special year. And me and Drop was on each other all season because we was dealing with a lot of the same stuff as far as like, our eating habits. So he was on, he had to lose weight coming back from COVID. I had to lose weight, and me and him just had a heart to heart, and it was like, man, Drop, man, Chris, you gotta, if you wanna, you gotta do better. And it was the same thing. And he a young guy telling me that, and I was like, man, you right. And I was like, look here, you got to do the same. If I do this for you, you got to do this for me. And Drop ended up losing the weight that he came back in with, but Drop real good. Josh Selliscar, that's my dog.
Yeah, how good is that kid going to be? He had a really good game early on. How good is he going to be?
Josh Selliscar?
Yeah.
Oh, Josh is going to be real good. Josh was just out there playing. Josh didn't have a clue on what was going on. And it's crazy because it's kind of like he just and I think, I watch a lot of basketball. Draymond Green said something about James is it Winston or Wiseman?
James Wiseman, yeah. Last night he just said it. Yeah.
James Wiseman, he said
I like that.
He don't have a clue what's going on. It was some quote he said. But, it was kind of the same with Josh when I was thinking, when I heard him say it. But once Josh figure out, like, what to do on certain plays, on how he can get away with certain little techniques, man, Josh gonna be, he might be one of the all-time greats there. And then I move on to Cam Good. Obviously, I'm showing love to my D-line. But Cam Good. Cam, man, they're gonna be something serious next year. Cam, man, he's lightning quick, and most people might not know this. He might be the strongest. You know what? I'm sorry, I'm not gonna see that. He's one of the strongest guys on the team. But for his size, he's one of the strongest as far as benching, just whatever, one of the strongest. And I'm gonna move to Landon. Look here, Landon. And I tell him this all the time. Landon, man, put on a couple more pounds. Put on about 15 more pounds. And, Coach Burnham and Coach Shannon, they've been telling you. But once Landon do that, Landon going to be a special DN. And, obviously, Khalil Davis. I look, I can't say much. I can't say enough about him. He got NFL, potential. Like, he can play in the league for a long time. And, he's so natural in everything he do. Like, his strength, like, is all natural. Like, he just got a feel for the game. Like, Coach, he started off as a linebacker, then they moved him to DN, and then went straight to D tackle. And just the way he dominated, man, Khalil he gonna be a real special player. And let me see. Let me make sure I ain't leave nobody else out.
Man, you got me fired up already. I want to watch the game right now.
Yeah.
I can't wait to. How about a guy?
Hold on. I got to give a shout out. My dog Richie. Can I three-way Richie Grant in real quick?
If you need to, we're here.
Hold on. Let me three-way him in. Let's
get Richie Grant in here. All right. Guess we're gonna be on hold right now, Mike. While we get Richie Grant in here, we're gonna filibuster.
All right, third interview of the show. This is getting
This is
better.
This is just good.
We didn't see that coming. Who knows if Richie's going to agree to come on?
I don't know if he's gonna have a choice. He just might appear.
Okay, never mind. I don't know what he was saying that when I answered the phone. But yeah, big shout out to Richie. That's my dog. He was just calling me. Who else finna talk about?
I don't know, but give me a name on offense. You talk about some defense guys. Give me a name. You said these guys playing offense. We lost like every receiver we had on the roster. It seems like. Give me a guy on offense who you think is just going to be explosive next year.
Amari.
Yeah, tell us about him. He's like a guy who's got a lot of energy. He had a couple of punt returns. It looked like he was live, man. Tell me about what to expect with him.
I can't wait until Amari get his shot. Man, Amari just one of them type of players like you just want around him. He's a little dude, but man, he got that dog in him. Y'all seen the way he took that hit?
He got depleted. Yeah.
Man, he popped. Man, he wasn't worried about that. Look here, he gonna be special. Like, just he one of them type of players. You just get him the ball, however it is, you get it to him on punt return, kick return. Man, put him in the slot, run it back. You just kind of like Otis. You just find a way to get him the ball and just let him do what he do. So he's one guy on offense. I can't wait until my dog Trill get healthy.
Yeah.
Cole, I can't wait until he get healthy. Shout out to him and his whole recovering process. I hope he's going good. But I think he gonna be real special. Once he gets healthy. Let me see who else. Who else is young? That
Johnny Richardson.
Oh, Johnny Richardson. How could I leave him out? Johnny Cage, that's what I call him. Johnny Cage. Yeah. Oh, and man, you talking about energy. Look here. Man, I ain't never been around nobody like that with that much energy. I'm talking about, look here, he gonna come in, man. I'm talking about as soon as he step in there, I think he just wake up like just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where he get all that energy from, but it ain't me because I ain't a morning person. But man, like he whatever you see with him is what you're going to get. Man, he always smiling. He's fun to be around. Love him. And he tough. Like, he ain't finna back down from nothing. I'm telling you, like, me and him then had it, then had some words on the practice field. And I can tell you, he ain't backing down. And if he make a play on you, if he make a play, you gonna hear about it until you get your get back. So he gonna be a real special player. I definitely can't wait to see what he gonna do. And
I'll tell you what, I'm excited. I wish we could play right now. I'm excited to watch this team play. You got me pumped up. I think
you got a future in marketing. You can sell some season tickets, I think.
Yeah, we need to get you. Call Danny
Oh,
White
yeah,
right now.
I definitely can. I might have to hit up Eric DeSavo, because I'm pretty good. I can put out some good content.
I'm with you. You may, yeah. You may. Are you coming back on the show? We may need you back like every once a month or something just to go through the roster. I mean, it's definitely been a treat. But look, we know it's getting late for you, man. We appreciate you taking your time to talk to us, and obviously you're one of the guys who helped bring UCF to heights we hadn't seen before, and your love of the program, your love of your teammates is definitely shows through, Christopher. So we appreciate everything you've done for UCF, man. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you and your family as well, and hopefully we get a chance to catch up with you down the road soon. Okay.
All right, no problem. I got one question though.
Hit me. What you got?
Is this the show that used to go on at Burger U? Y'all had the players on at Burger U? It's not the show, is it?
No. So you're probably thinking of Mark Daniels. He's like the official UCF voice guy. Yeah, we're not.
I'm thinking about Mark Daniels. I'm finna say, I'm kind of jealous about this.
We're not that cool. I think we're cooler than Mark Daniels. I don't know, but yeah, we're not right there.
Yeah, y'all might be cool in there.
There we go. That's what I need. I'm gonna cut that promo right there. I'm gonna do my marketing, Christopher. But look, man, we appreciate you, man. Be safe. All the best to your family, and we'll catch up with you down the road. Okay.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Charge on.
The Suns have a new interview. Listen up.
All right, chances are if you watched UCF football, I don't know, 2011 to 2014, you probably saw this guy make big play after big play, particularly in big moments. And we're really happy that he was able to join us on the show this evening here. It is UCF great. Mr. Brandon Alexander is with us. Brandon, first off, thanks for taking some time for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's talk about your story really quickly and your career. You actually came to UCF as a walk-on, a preferred walk-on, and obviously worked your way up to a scholarship level. But let's talk about that decision first of all. What kind of chip on your shoulder did you have coming to UCF, and what made you think about joining us as a walk-on?
Well, I've always had a chip on my shoulder, just from me just not always being like the best guy on the team growing up or anything like that. I always had to outbeat people and everything. And the decision of having me going to UCF, I was ended up going to probably either Louisville or FIU for getting accepted into the school academically. And, just randomly just heard got a phone call. Saying that, hey, come check out our campus here at UCF and, come meet the coaches and everything. And I did. And they, said that they were going to, have me come on as a preferred walk-on. And I felt like it was a no-brainer because it was right here at home. So, coming in, I just felt like I needed to be able to just go in and be able to give me I needed to go in and just be able to to be myself. And, that's kind of what happened, just how that all transpired. It's kind of just a spur of the moment type of thing. And I'm kind of glad that it just worked out that way.
Well, one of the things I read about you is we know you now as a great defensive back, but you didn't even play DB in high school. At least you didn't play much DB. In high school, it sounds like you played D end and receiver. How did that work out that you ended up becoming a defensive back when you got to UCF?
Well, I played defense in my first 3 years, and then my last year they finally moved me to a position I felt like I could have made some more plays. I'll be honest with you. I believe that made me tougher with going to do board drills with offensive linemen all the time. And what's funny is when I got to UCF, though, Blake Bortles actually remembered me. When I was a junior, he played at Oviedo High School, and he was able to. I actually got 3 sacks off of him.
Oh wow!
And in the game, and when I got 3 sacks on him, when I saw him in freshman year. He had looked at me. He was like, "Yo, are you the guy that played at Evans High School?" I was like, "Yeah." They was like, "Yeah, you had the defensive back / receiver at defensive end," and my old lineman kept telling me that I couldn't block him. And it was funny, but just going from there and then playing receiver, and when I got to college, they asked me what I wanted to play, and I told them I wanted to play wide receiver, and they just looked me up and down, and Coach Bettman said, "No, you're gonna be a DB." And I said, "Okay, I didn't know what that was gonna, entail or whatever, but that's all good." And like I said, it ended up just working out, for the best, because although it was a new position, I just wanted to, learn the game pretty fast and just be able to go out there and just showcase my abilities that I can just play.
How big were you as a DE in high school? What was your weight at that point?
145. Especially starting at like a freshman year. Though freshman year, I was probably like 100 pounds. Going into my senior year, I was basically like 145, 150-ish. Because when I first got into UCF my freshman year, I weighed in at 145.
Wow.
So, and I came out at 195. So.
Well, they threw you right into the fire as a freshman and a new position too, playing cornerback. You started a few games there your true freshman year. Did you feel like you were lost out there your first couple games in college?
Not exactly. The only reason is because, all those times that I was sitting back and just looking at film, I was looking at everything. I was seeing what the linebackers were doing. I was seeing what the defensive line was doing. I was seeing what the DBs were doing. And, and then I just worked hard at the end of the day going along with it. So when I first got out there, though, to be honest with you, I was a little bit scared and a little bit nervous because of the fact that, it's like, oh, this is really happening now. I've already played a little bit, starting in the beginning of the season when we played FIU. I played a dime spot for literally a play, and I was lined up right on top of T.Y. Hilton. He ran an out route on me for like 30 yards. I didn't go back in the game after that, but every single game I started to play a little bit more on special teams, a little bit more on defense with packages and things. And then, we played UAB in the second half. I played the full game due to an injury of a good friend of mine, of AJ Boye. So, when that happened, I was a little bit scared, but I had guys and leaders like Kamal Ishmael and Clayton Geathers and even AJ himself, just in my ear, just saying that, you're good. This is what you practice for. You're no longer a freshman. You're no longer a walk-on. You are on the field with us. You got to come out here and play. And I think that made me a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that was a hell of a unit you guys had back there. But you being the young guy, and especially playing under O'Leary, are you a little scared to make a mistake? What was it like playing for the White Horse?
All right, so funny story about that one is, so for the first 2 years of my career, like literally every single week, what we have is on Thursdays, Coach would literally have everybody in this one room, and he would call out random people to tell us, it'd be like, tell us about the game plan. If you couldn't spit out the game plan and what you were doing and what you were looking at film, you didn't play. So literally every single week, my freshman year and my sophomore year, he called on my name every single week. And I spit it out how I needed to spit out. He had to make sure that I was watching film. One of the reasons is because I wrote in cursive. I don't write in print. I haven't wrote in print since I was maybe 3 years old. And he can't read my handwriting. So the defensive coordinator my senior year, Coach Summers, he told me the story. He was like, he went into the meeting with him and Coach O'Leary, and he asked him, he's like, do you read Brandon Alexander's paper? And he was like, no, sir, I don't. He was like, that's why I asked him all those questions for those first 2 years. I just look at it to see if he filled the paper, and I just toss it to the side because I know what he's doing. And, he didn't ask me any more questions for my junior to senior year. If he did, it was just to show an example of how it's supposed to be answered. So, he kind of drilled me in, but I was nervous and too scared for me to be wrong in the answer that I took it to account to watch film every single day and made sure that I was going to be prepared and ready for those questions.
So there was never a time he jumped on you and you didn't know what was going on and he kind of got in your face or anything?
No, not at all. Not at all. If he did jump on me and if he got in my face, it's because I deserved it, for sure. Because I didn't get a lot of that. I pride myself on trying to do the right things every single time and keeping my nose clean on and off the field. So he really didn't have any reason for him to, to yell at me or anything. But the times that he did, it was probably well deserved.
Brandon, one of the things I'm always curious about is obviously you get to school your freshman year, right? You kind of learn the ropes, you get some PT, and you kind of get your feet wet in college. But that second year, you really have a chance to make your mark. What was that transition like for you between that freshman and sophomore year? What did you do that summer? How did you work out? How did you kind of make sure you were able to take your game to the next level?
Well, I ended up getting a scholarship in January 3rd of 2012, literally the semester right after, and when that happened, I was so excited and happy. It didn't change my work ethic or anything, but to be honest with you, I had a garbage spring camp. I was getting bombed up by Bashard Perriman. I was getting routed up by everybody out there. I don't know what was going on. So to be real with you, the first 2 games of the season, I didn't even start. I barely even played. And the second game when we played Akron, I actually subbed in at strong safety towards the end of the game for Clayton. And actually, that was the first game. In the second game, we played Ohio State. I didn't play in that game at all except for special teams. And it was because I had a trash camp. I had a trash training camp, and I had a trash spring camp. And, I deserved to move down. So I was basically third corner on the list. And third game of the season, FIU came on, and I got an opportunity to start again. And to be honest with you, that's arguably my best game that I had at UCF if I would have caught the interception that I dropped. I ended up having 3 pass breakups. One of them could have been a potential interception, 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. And I was at cornerback. I was doing really well. So, but then from that point on, it kind of started to solidify myself as being a starter on the team. It didn't start off well, but it ended pretty well.
What did you have to do to work your way back up? How did you work your way back to the starting spot that year?
Well, I just didn't hang my head. I just had to keep, watching film, keep practicing, and day in, day out, it's just showing that, I deserve to get back on the field. At that point, I did not deserve to get back on that field, and rightfully so, they took me off. And, every single day in practice, every single day in watching film room, I was just kept, reminding myself that, I have to, in order to be successful, in order to be the person I want to be, I have to be able to maintain that. And again, I started to show more in practice that, I have the ability to play in this position. Because, again, I've never even played back here besides last year, so I still had a lot of more learning and more growing to do. And, again, I had a lot of people in my corner that was helping me out with that. So just more practice and more film and not hanging my head. I kept still working hard. And I believe that, energy is reciprocated, whether it's good or bad energy. Whatever that you put out, you're going to get it back tenfold.
Well, later in that 2012 season, you had your first INT against ECU. We were tied 14-all when you actually made that play. What do you remember about your first interception?
I remember how we got there. The first how we got there first. I don't know how they scored their first touchdown. We was actually down 7-0. Then we get back out there, and I know in my head that this guy Justin Hardy is going to run a comeback route. It's only me and him out there. There's nobody else. He ends up running the comeback, and I end up jumping it and trying to go get the interception, and he end up running the double move and scores a touchdown. Now we're down 14-0. And I'm so mad and so upset. They kick the ball up to us, and literally Quincy McDuffie runs it for a touchdown. So now we're down 14-7. And we go back up there on defense, and we make a stop. And then our offense scores the ball again, and then literally the next possession, I end up getting my first interception. And that interception, he threw the ball so low, it was behind. I actually had to dive on the ground to get it. But it came at the right time because I was still feeling bad that we got down 14-0. So partly it was my fault. So I had to do something, and that ball came to me. I just tucked it in, and it felt so good because everybody jumped on top of me. It was the very first one, and everybody was so excited. And the crazy thing about it is that game ended 44-14.
Yeah.
They had those quick two scores, and then we ended up shutting them down after that. So I do believe that that interception kind of built me up a little bit more into feeling more comfortable playing out here now, and it worked out for the best.
Yeah, that 2012 season, you can start to see the team really build up. Are you still mad about that championship game, that whistle that they blew on that punt return? It still pisses me off.
No question about it. That Tulsa team is ridiculous. We lost to them 2 times in a row. We lost to them the first time when we get up there to see who was going to have the home field advantage for the conference championship. We lost that game by 7-3. And we go back up there and lose the game by 7-3 again. And it was very frustrating, very upsetting, and especially with that punt return. That punt return definitely killed this, and deflated us a lot for that game. And we were really upset about that. I'm mad that you kind of brought that
up. Well, it led to the 2013 season. Coming into the 2013, what were your expectations for the team and yourself? Because you actually ended up switching positions, right?
Correct. We were still trying to figure ourselves out, and at the time before the switch we had going into the fall camp, we were literally maybe 12, 14 games away of playing our first game, and I was still at cornerback, and we wasn't clicking right in the back end. And we made a couple of adjustments, and Coach O'Leary just came up to me. He was like, "We're just going to try you at safety for whatever reasons for this one practice." And, they put me in that practice. The very first drill we had was inside run, and, we got a guy, Storm Johnson, back there, running back, and this is my first time back here. I don't know what to expect. It's inside run. I'm coming from 12 yards, and to be honest with you, they snapped the ball, and I actually, hit Storm Johnson very hard, where he falls to the ground and everybody looks and they're so surprised. And then we do it over again, and I hit him again. He doesn't fall this time, but I hit him and stick him enough. And practice goes through, and I'm flying around and things, and Coach O'Leary comes to me and he asks, he's like, "How do you like safety?" I was like, "Coach, I love it. I'm able to just run around and do it kind of like what I want to do." And he was like, "Good, you're going to stay there." I was like, "Cool." And it kind of worked out like that. And I believe that my best asset is not only just playing, but communication on the field and being able to make other people feel comfortable on the field. And now I'm more talkative back there, being able to, talk to my cornerback, talk to my guy Clayton Gathers at the other safety, talk to the linebackers and Terrence Plummer and Troy Gray and Willie and everybody else that was in there. So I was able to be more comfortable in myself, and I think that's what another change came with our 2013 season. Not only that, a lot of us played our freshman year. Me, Terrence Plummer, Rennell Hall, Clayton Gathers, J.J. Wharton. A lot of us played, whether we were freshmen or redshirt freshmen. We played our freshman year. So when we were our junior year, we were already groomed, ready to go, and knew how every single body, in there played. So it worked out for the best in 2013 because a lot of us already had that camaraderie and that chemistry.
Right, because that 2011 season, your freshman year, you guys took some tough losses. You mentioned the FIU game. The BYU game, we were right in it, and a couple plays going the other way.
Kickoff return for touchdown, I remember.
Yep. Yeah, there's a few of them, and then that season kind of spirals. But you're saying you need those kind of losses to end up having the 2013 season, right?
Correct. You need those losses, and you need that leadership. So when those guys do leave, you carry on the torch, and that's why a lot of us playing our freshman year was so important because we had guys like Kamal Ishmael, had guys like A.J. Boye, had guys like Jeff Godfrey, had guys on the other side of the ball like Ronnie Weaver and Latavius Murray, like guys you just can't forget about, Chemist, A.J. Guyton, that were leaders on our team and groomed a lot of us freshman guys. So when they left, a lot of us already played. A lot of us knew what to expect. A lot of us knew what to do, and we didn't have no drop-off. We actually elevated.
Well, that season starts off pretty fair, and one of the big games, I think people forget about this game just because, of everything else that happened in 2013. But you guys go on the road to Penn State, Big Ten school, 100,000 plus people, Happy Valley, whiteout, all that nonsense. And you guys come out with a really tough road win early on in that 2013 season. How much confidence did that give you guys going on the road in a Big Ten stadium and coming out with a victory that day?
Oh, without question, it gave us a huge confidence booster just because – we were just our first time going into which was once called the Big East and now it was the AAC at that point. And still had guys, we were able to play, bigger name schools, with first off being Penn State listed there. We coming off of 2 wins over Akron and FIU of, winning those games pretty good and pretty comfortable, and then going into at Penn State. First of all, I've never seen anything like that. It's literally every seat is filled and it's roaring. It's over 100,000 people in that stadium. It's ridiculous. And go out there and they have a great offense, a great defense, and we go out there winning 34-31. We really didn't surprise ourselves more so, but just to get that for the start of the season, it kind of set us off for that run. So getting that was very important because they were, 2-0 or 3-0 at that time, and so were we. So we wanted to just go ahead and make a statement, that we did. And it was a tough game, no question about it. But, coming out with that win was very important for the start of the season.
That led us into another huge game. It was at home, first time ever on ABC. And a game that I still have nightmares about because we had this game too, the one blemish on the season, South Carolina game.
South Carolina.
We're up 10-0 at the half. We knocked out their quarterback. I thought for sure we were just going to blow them out in the second half, and they kind of just pushed us around. What happened to us there in the second half of that game?
I'll be honest with you. I just feel like, South Carolina came out trying to throw the ball on us, which, to be honest with you, we kind of expected. They tried to come out throwing the ball on us, and what a lot of people don't know is for our defense, especially our secondary was ranked top 10 in the country, with being a pass defense. So they came out throwing the ball, and it just was not working. Like, it was 10-0 at halftime. Terrence Plummer made a phenomenal play on one of the plays with knocking out the quarterback, but also making that fumble, causing that fumble. And if I had my head on the swivel a little bit more, I could have picked it up faster and ran it for a touchdown. It could have been 17-0. But, going in at 10-0, and then those guys came out with a different game plan. We came out with the same game plan, as like the quarterback was going to still be, come back and healthy. And they came out with a different game plan. And, I think they just realized going back in, like, hey, we are a lot bigger than these guys. and we got Mike Davis out running back here. We're just gonna run it down their throats. Mike Davis literally ran for almost over 200 yards in one half, and it was the second half. And that's what happened to us. They literally bullied us in the second half, and we still had that chance to win the game, even being down 28-25 with the onside kick. We just didn't get it. We had enough time. We actually rolled enough. People missed it, and we just missed the opportunity in getting that onside kick. So that was the one blemish, because who knows where we could have been at the end of the season after that win. But, I mean, that also showed that we were nothing to play around with that season. Losing the 3 by South Carolina didn't have a loss at that time. And at the end of the day, they only had 1, and they were still ranked at that time. And with us losing by 3 again, I just think that, just put kind of the world on notice, like, okay, UCF is nothing to play with this year.
Yeah, South Carolina was a very good team. We had the resume for sure that year. With the Penn State win we talked about, that win would have been huge. And then the Louisville game. Louisville was the number 8 team. So many close games in that season. Louisville, Temple, the goal line stand at Houston. You have a pass break up there at the end.
Yep.
Take us through some of those close games. How are you able to keep your nerves through some of those? Because I know I couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, we practiced the way that we played, and what I mean is, I mean, if you go back and literally just watch the games and you watch it all the way through, including like throughout the fourth quarter, you'll see that none of our guys are bending over, none of our guys are tired, none of our guys are doing none of that stuff. We're still on full go like it's the first quarter. What's the reason for that? Our practice was ridiculously hard. It was so hard that like we had no choice but to have fun during the games, but to be just loose during the games, because practice was dreadful. I'll be completely honest with you. It was basically fastball every week. And what fastball is, we got a 10-second clock that they're going to hurry up and huddle and snap the ball and do it over again. We're not even playing the fastball team this week. It didn't even matter. So we were prepared for all those situations. So when we came to a close games, which literally a lot of our games, if we say we had a 13-game season, out of 13 games, I want to say 9, 10 of them came down within 7. That's crazy, But we prevailed because that's how we practice, and we all believed in exactly what we knew. We were never out of the game. We can't even go further into 2014 with the ECU game, just that throw them up, at the end with just a homie throwing it up in the air, Bashar Perriman coming down with it. It's just a resemblance of, again, how we practice. We just never felt like we were out of the game until that clock hit 0-0. And you got to have a little bit of luck as well. So we had a little bit of a sprinkle in the magic. But how do you make the luck? You work hard. You make luck by working hard. You just don't come to you. So we worked hard for that season.
Well, you mentioned it, so just to run it down really quickly. So you have the Memphis game with big hit by Stanback. Drico Johnson returns it on a punt return for a touchdown. Louisville, Bortles to Godfrey late, although the pass was probably to Rennell Hall. The Houston game, obviously you have the pass breakup, to essentially on the 4th down play. Temple, you got the J.J. Wharton catch. USF, you got Jordan Ozerites with the INT to seal it. Of all those games, does one of them stick out the most to you? Does one of them, like, you look back and I go, man, I still cannot believe we pulled that one out?
I got it for me. If I would be biased, I would pick my game.
Sure.
The one I did the pass breakup. But I'm not going to do that. The one I would pick is the Temple game.
Yeah.
Like I still don't know to this day. If you just watch that whole play, Blake Bortles ended up doing like a 360 before he throws the ball down the field. I don't know how he ended up doing that. And then JJ ends up catching it one hand. Just that whole stanza. I don't know how we end up getting it like that. First of all, we didn't have no business being like that close of a game, playing like that. We end up, what was the score, 38-35 at the end of the game? That's utterly ridiculous. We had no business being, having that shootout like that. But to this day, I don't know how JJ caught that. I don't know how Blake ended up spinning, doing the 360 and throwing it on the money like that. I don't know how the blocker was so good on that play. That play still wows me to this day.
Well, that obviously led us to the ultimate for that season. You guys get the bid to the Fiesta Bowl. But as soon as UCF and Baylor's announced, everybody writes UCF off. I think we're double-digit underdogs. Everybody just kind of says Baylor's just going to run right through us. How did you guys take that? I mean, because obviously defensively, Baylor put up a lot of points, and that was their thing, right? But defensively, you guys played really well. How did you guys take that leading into bowl practice? Was there a chip on your shoulder? Were you guys just kind of like glad people were counting you out? Did it almost feel more comfortable that people didn't believe in you at that point?
Oh, but we already knew that it was going to be like that just from our amount of close games that we had. Even though we beat top 10 teams during the regular season, it just didn't matter. We were going against a team that, one, at that time had the number one offense in the country and had the number one offense in NCAA history. They didn't care about UCF at that time. They cared about the numbers, the stats. Meanwhile, they were already in Scottsdale, Arizona a week before we got there. We were back in camp. Like we were preparing to start off the season. We were dying 7 days straight. We were in camp 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, don't get out, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's work. So we were watching the games, and we were watching like the build up leading to the Fiesta Bowl, and we're seeing, Baylor just having a good time out there while we're dying, having Battles 300 movie on the field at Orlando. They are in Scottsdale. We're in Orlando doing this. And, we're pretty upset because everybody's writing us off. We got the commentators writing us off. We got the players writing us off. We even got the coaches from the other side of the team writing us off. And it's all good, but we took that to account. We understood that they were the number one offense in the country. We understood that they were going to put points on the board against us. So we went out there with a chip on our shoulder. And that game, they never led. One time in that game. They scored 42 points. That's a lot of points. But for Baylor, that wasn't a lot of points. Baylor was scoring 70 points a game versus people. They were breaking records this year. And they lost one game that year. And the one game they lost was against Oklahoma State. They lost 44-14. I don't know how I remember this, but they lost 44-14 during their season. And I looked up, and that was the game that I was watching all week for our game. And we kept them in containment again. Like they still scored 42 points, but I never seen a team that fast. And they were a team that passed the ball, which played to our strengths. As long as we stayed ahead of the curve, that's all that matters. And our offense came out with a phenomenal game plan to keep us ahead of the game. Even with a couple of our turnovers that we had. We still, Rennell Hall had a phenomenal game. Blake Bortles had a phenomenal game. Both of our running backs had a phenomenal game. The blocking was there. Everybody had a part to play. Our offense definitely had ahead of a curve, and all we had to do was just stop them a couple times, and, that's what led us to the championship.
Yeah, Justin Tukes told us that was the best game plan he had ever been a part of. But you played a huge role in that game, too. So Storm Johnson fumbles. We're at 14-13. Storm fumbles. Baylor and Bryce Petty go all the way down the field. They're at our 14-yard line. Petty'd only been picked off twice in the season up to this point in time. Throws the ball into the end zone. And why don't you tell us what happens next?
Well, I definitely getting an interception. They end up coming in they actually end up going pretty fast, like setting up wise. But I've seen this same exact setup during film watching, and I knew that the guy in the middle was going to just run straight up the field. I didn't know that the quarterback was going to just loft it up like that, but I knew what the guy was going to do. It was kind of how I got my Houston pick in that same year. They were in an empty set, and every time they got in the empty set, I knew that the guy on the inside was going to run a corner route. Well, he ran the corner route. I did it. I got the interception. Well, same thing happened in the Fiesta Bowl. It came out in the empty set. I knew that guy in the slot was going to run straight up the field. He ran up the field. The quarterback actually threw the ball, and I just beat him to the spot. Going back and thinking about it, I probably should have ran it out and tried it, but it was still a magnificent moment just to get that interception and. Being able to stop them because they did get all the way down there and be able to stop that momentum and give our offense another chance to put some points on the board was pretty good.
That explains why it looked like such an easy interception because it looked like you ran the route for the guy. He was throwing it to you. You were pretty much wide open on that play.
Exactly. I mean, it's an empty set. In the empty set, man, you don't have that much time to throw the ball like that. And, once the receiver automatically just see where he goes, that's where he's going to go. And I was already lined up kind of like 6 yards in front of him. I just had to cut in front of him, and that's what I did.
We had a lot of that team come back the next year. Obviously, Blake decides to leave early. You can't blame him. He's going to be the number 3 pick. Storm leaves. But for the most part, that chunk of that team was coming back the next year. What was your outlook going into that next season? And we're starting the season in Ireland. How did you feel about the 2014 season?
We were ecstatic. We were very excited, that we could do the same thing that we did the year before. The only thing that kind of threw us all off was the Ireland trip. And that's not to say that we wasn't grateful for it at all. But that was our home game. You know what I'm saying? That was literally our home game that we were supposed to play. And when we go to Ireland, no kidding, there were way more Penn State fans than there were UCF fans. Way more. So it was like it turned to an away game. Now, I'm not saying that's the reason why we lost or anything, but, I mean, we literally took our home game and gave it to Penn State. And I understood the reasonings behind it because it was supposed to be Coach George O'Leary and then Coach Bill O'Brien, both being from Ireland and doing this. Like, I understand, like, the whole genre and everything behind it. But, just to start off that season, we were excited. And, having that game, I think it just kind of threw us off a little bit. And as you've seen, we started off with a loss that season.
Yeah, well, I think if he starts Holman, I guess, going by the second half, we probably won that game easily. We put ourselves in a hole there in the first half.
That is well. We were still trying to figure some things out, between Pete DeNovo and Holman. Like, we had both good quarterbacks that were competing at the time. And, and Justin Holman ended up winning the spot. But who knows if Justin Holman would have played in the first, what could have happened. I think that, to be honest with you, Penn State scored a little bit too much. We have some mishaps on our defensive side that we could have, got back and did something better. So, I'm a guy of if our offense can score 17 points in the game, we should be able to win every game, especially with the defense that we had at UCF for the past 3 seasons. We should have been able to prevail, and that was that game on us.
All right. Well, here's a positive game from that season. Another one of these games that comes down to the very end. We're in Houston. You know where I'm going with this one. First of all, we're kicking these guys' asses for most of this game. And then they put in Greg Ward, and they make the comeback. It looks like we're about to blow this thing. And you somehow diving at the goal line to save us with the touchback. Run us through that whole play and that whole sequence.
First of all, I'm going to give Greg Ward his credit. I haven't seen a quarterback come in and do that to us since Ohio State, Braxton Miller. And he just came in the second half and just started wreaking havoc. And as you see, like, as years went by, the next year and the year after that, like, him at quarterback, he actually did pretty well at Houston. So he got in, and, me and Terrence Plummer, we talked about this all the time. Like, he always called me and be like, yo, you saved me on this play. He ended up getting, shook out of his boots, and he's running out there to the sideline. I'm all the way on the other side of the field guarding something else. And, I seen him just break. And I don't know, it just tells me to just go. I just go. And he ended up diving, a little couple yards before that power line, and ended up diving too. And I'm not going to lie, I closed my eyes. I closed my eyes. I just knew where his hand were, and I ended up just chopping his arm. Well, I had enough brute force for that ball to pop out. And if you can kind of see the play, you can see me turn around, and I'm looking up at Clayton like, what happened? He's looking at me like, yo, it's a touchback. It's a touchback. I'm like, what does that mean? Are we good? They're like, yo, the game over. The game's over. We won this. So we just got, run around and start celebrating. But I kind of didn't know what happened. I thought he really scored before he got there. And, and the replay showed it was literally inches before. And that just goes to show that you just never give up on a play. Once again, you don't give up until somebody scores or it's 0-0. You just never know. And coming from 2013 seasons, out of all the games we had from the final seconds, we used to stuff like that. So, again, good things happen when you run to the ball. You just never know. Somebody could run a 99-yard and get to the 1 yard and just drop the ball because he wanted to celebrate. You never know. And those were one of those plays.
So if Plummer actually makes the tackle, we probably end up losing that game because he doesn't dive into the end zone. You don't make that play. Who knows? He gets another shot at first down or something.
That is very true. You never know. you just never know at all. So, yeah, that could have happened. They could have ended up getting another first down and running the ball and making a better decision or a better play because they had another timeout that they could have used and made a better play at the situation. So who knows? But I'm glad it happened that way.
Yeah, it's a historic play now in UCF history.
Well, look, a lot of UCF fans look at the last couple of seasons of UCF football, obviously, and think that this is sort of the beginning of great things. But people people forget your era and the time you played was really kind of the foundation for UCF. My math is right. You won 36 games in your 4 years at UCF, including 3 bowl appearances. So you and your classmates really helped put UCF on the map. How would you describe, looking back at it now, how would you describe your 4 years at UCF?
Man, I would never trade it for the world. To be honest with you, this is my 4 years at UCF been phenomenal. I met some of my closest friends. Like they are real deal family members of mine. I met some of my great homies and being around the game, like it was been phenomenal 4 years. I have no complaints. I mean, I wish we could have definitely won that conference championship in 2012. Could have been a little bit better, but other than that, I have no complaints about our Fiesta Bowl win, and then still back-to-back conference champions, and being able to to have those. UCF didn't have those at those times. Being able to do this, and I'm glad that we were basically like the very, very beginning of a UCF era that ended up turning around. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I played with some of the best guys on the planet, and some of these guys are still, showcasing their abilities in the NFL right now. And, again, I wouldn't trade it because these are guys that built me up and built us up and built our character. And as you see, more and more guys that get into UCF that end up going to the league, they're starting to showcase their ability and being able to, like, oh, these guys are for real. You see, not to mention like Traquan Smith last night, although they lost, he had a phenomenal game. Coming back from his injury. So, UCF is just having to be in more of that starting foundation of UCF getting looked at on a national stage. That's phenomenal. You can't take that away from our guys in our 4 years that have been there. So, I have no complaints. I wouldn't trade it for the world. If I could do it over again the same as that way, I would.
Well, you left Sony Orlando for cold Canada after that, and you spent a couple of years in the CFL, including a Grey Cup championship. What was your time like in Canada? How did you enjoy playing in the CFL?
I mean, I love it. The culture is different. The people is different. It's really cold now for sure. It's really cold, and I would just so happen to land in one of the coldest places in the world. In Winnipeg, Manitoba. I literally go from one of the hottest places to one of the coldest places. And to be honest with you, that culture is the same as I had at UCF, the same way, the brotherhood and people who are just around the game that really care about it. I enjoyed my 3 years that I've been up there so far and hope to make many more. And it's crazy that I get up there and end up winning a Grey Cup championship. And, that team haven't won it in 29 years. I wouldn't even thought of at that time, bringing that championship back there. It's just kind of, to be honest with you, felt, a little bit more than UCF just because of the circumstances, but it felt like UCF in terms of, UCF never won a BCS bowl game. Winnipeg hasn't won a championship in 29 years, and, we were starting something new, a new dynasty, a new era. And, both of them, I felt like, have the same experience. I wouldn't trade them for the world.
You played in some pretty cold games, actually, at UCF. The SMU game in 2013 was freezing, right? And the game in UConn where O'Leary didn't turn the heaters on, that was another cold one. So what's the coldest you played in now in Canada?
I remember that Calgary game was pretty cold my rookie year. It was actually my first pick six in my career. But I wore 5 gloves. I had like 4 undershirts on, long sleeve, and I had like two leggings on. I caught that interception for like 60 yards, touchdown though. But it was no kidding. I gotta say it was about 5 degrees outside.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it was about 5 degrees outside. It might have been a little bit lower than that, and I think it was like with wind chills of like -10.
Oof.
No exaggeration. That game was cold, but that was actually one of my better games in Canada. So I mean, for extreme weather, hey, just come on, keep bringing them because I have good games in them.
Does it kind of force you to focus a little more on the games as to keep your mind off the weather, I guess?
No, because once the play starts, I mean, you really don't think about it too much. I mean, you're moving around already, so when you get moving, like you're all right. But as soon as that whistle blows and you stop, you get back in that huddle. You're doing the Harlem Shake in the huddle. You're doing all types of things to keep warm. And then like once you get off the field, the first thing you want to do is run straight to the sideline and either get to the heaters or we got some coats or some covers, and we all bunched up trying to create some heat. So. During the game though, no, it's not that bad. But once that whistle blows, you start standing around, it get pretty bad.
All right, you brought me back to the heaters again. You go to the heaters as a player.
Feel bad. I feel worse about for the fans that actually just sits there and just takes that wind brutal, especially the wind. The wind is crazy up there. The wind makes it so much worse.
But going back to the heaters, like you just said, as a player, you love to have them on the sideline. What happened in that 2014 game? You know for a fact that O'Leary said not to turn the heaters on in UConn?
No question. That definitely happened. No question that happened. But we were playing so awful, you just like turn off the heaters. Like Coach O'Leary was literally a coach that like extra things, like if extra things were messing us up, he'll take it away. For instance, yes, we beat USF in 2013. Remember, that was the blackout game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember, he sold the helmets after the blackout game. Why did he do that? Because he felt like, first of all, USF shouldn't have been in the same stratosphere as us. We won by 3 points. He was like, okay, since we won by 3 points and we should have beat them by 30, we're going to sell these helmets. You will never have swag again. He did. Like, this is how it happened. So, same thing with the heaters. Oh, y'all want to play trash? Okay. We're going to turn off these heaters, and we're going to make sure now your focus is going to be all on the game. Well, it didn't work out because we ended up losing that game. We had no business losing. But, he definitely turned off those heaters for sure.
But he kind of punished you with the USF game. He didn't even let you guys wear black jerseys to a blackout. That was before we even played a 3-point game.
He did not care. Like, just literally think about the era that we played in, which is not that far from the new era of today. Yeah. We literally played with no names on the back of our jersey. Nobody on the field wore number 1. Everybody's socks were base of the calves. Everybody had 2 wristbands that you wore. Nobody had visors. Nobody had indifference on our side. You see nobody being different. Nobody had extra towel unless you was the quarterback. Nobody had nothing different. You literally looked exactly the same. You couldn't tell who was who.
You think some of that's actually good? Like players nowadays, starting this year, they're going to start getting paid for their likeness and all that stuff. You think that's going to take away maybe from some of the team stuff and kind of make it more individualized?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think these things like that will be double-edged swords because you just got to have guys that, like, that believe in a certain thing. When we came in, we believed in the system that Coach O'Leary, like, was coaching and what was we abided by. We didn't care about no swag. We didn't care about, we look good. Yeah, you look good, you play good. I understand that. Like, that's a double-edged sword as well. But we didn't care about that. We were so mad at practice, that practice was so hard that we just wanted to get into the game anyway and just play. We didn't care how we looked. We didn't care if we went out there and we had no socks, we had no jerseys, all we had was pads on and everything. We just wanted to play, and now, with them getting paid with the likeness or whatever, I mean, I do feel like that'd be good for the players. But, at the end of the day, I think that it really don't matter. Like, it really just matters about what you have in that locker room, and do you believe in the guys in the locker room? If you believe in the guys in the locker room, I don't care what you got on. You want to have pink on, you can have pink on today. If you want to have blue on tomorrow, you can have blue on tomorrow. If you believe in the guys in the locker room, that's all that matters. It don't matter what you got on.
All right, Brandon, you've been really gracious with your time, but we end every interview around here. We ask 5 rapid fire, just random questions. Could be about sports, music, movies, whatever. And so since Mike and I can't count, it's actually 6 questions. But are you ready for these 5 rapid fire questions? You never know what you're going to get.
I'm ready.
What was your go-to pregame meal? So before a big game, what is Brandon Alexander having to eat?
Yo, I love the dry pasta. Like I literally get. Like they'll have a pasta and they will have marinara sauce or the meatballs and all that stuff. I literally get the pasta dry, and all I'm doing is putting salt and pepper on it, and I'm having a full 2 plates of pasta.
Nice.
All right, we're down to the final 4 now in the NFL. You got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Packers, and the Bucks. Who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
Man, although my favorite team is the Bucks, I got the Packers winning it this year. I don't know why. I feel like Aaron Rodgers just on a mission to go get him another one. And these last 4 teams is going to be definitely hard to choose from, but I definitely got the Packers.
All right, Brandon, for 2 years, UCF only lost 1 football game in 17 and 18. In the last 2 years, we've lost 7 football games. A lot of fans are concerned and worried. Are you concerned and worried?
No, not at all. You got to give UCF time, give them a chance. We had 2 years where we finally did lose a game, and then they lose one, and then everybody want to tear out their hair. Everybody calm down. You know, we got to take small steps. We took the step from having, getting the spotlight. Now we got the spotlight. Now we just need to maintain it. So, yeah, 1 or 2 losses here and there, like, okay. But, no, I'm not worried at all.
Well, you mentioned the Baylor offense. When you watch UCF, do you see like the exact same plays you remember watching from 2013?
No question.
Since Heupel's system is very, very similar.
100%. This is the same offense. And when it spreads you out, literally have a receiver touching the sideline and running their offense. So yes, I do believe it's like literally like a replica of what we seen in 2013.
Can an offense like that work? Like you mentioned, obviously you studied it up so much, you knew their plays. Long term, can an offense like that, you think, be successful and win championships?
I think anything can be successful if you got the right players, you got the right guys, you got the right mindset to go in and you got to play. A great example of that would be the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe like their defense is not just all world beaters, but I mean, you just look, they play together. They played a little bend, but don't break. I don't like that terminology, but like they play that way on defense. And their offense is just remarkable. And you see they just tossing the ball around everywhere. They don't really have a set run game. They don't really have a set pass game. But the way that they play their offense, they're just real high speed, fast moving, tempo. They get it done. And they just won a Super Bowl last year. So it can be done. Any offense can work if you got the right pieces around and everybody believes in it.
But what I'm hearing you're saying is the 2013 UCF team would beat up on today's teams.
I'm 100% saying that, yes. I have valid reasons to back that up.
All right. My family recently just got a new dog for Christmas. And believe it or not, we've named him Brandon. So
wow.
I know, right? I'd love to tell you that we named him after you, but I don't think that was the case. But how did you get your name? Is your name passed down in your family, or why is your name Brandon?
Well, I got 4. So my name is Brandon Jalen Derrick Alexander. And my dad wanted me to be a junior. My mom wanted me to be named Jalen. And they couldn't really decide much, so they let my nana name me, and that's how I got my name Brandon.
Nice. All right. What's the best Will Smith movie of all time?
Oh, that's tough. Wow. For me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm an emotional type of dude. So I love 7 pounds.
Okay.
I love 7 pounds. It's gonna be tough for a movie of Will Smith to beat that. It got to be out of 7 pounds and the one with the zombies.
Suicide Squad.
The I Am Legend.
Okay.
And I have Robot. I'm sorry, I Robot is up there too. So it's out of those 3 for me.
Okay. So no bad boys? I can't get bad boys 1 or bad boys 2?
I can't get that. But no, I can't get bad boys for me, man. I know everybody would have picked that one. Nah, I'm like an I Am Legend, I Am Robot. I mean, I Robot type of dude.
Okay.
Independence Day is the correct answer. So.
I'm cool with that. It's like classy.
Welcome to Earth, right? All right. You were a pretty good basketball player in high school too, I'm hearing. So what kind of game did you have? What was your game like? Were you a point guard, shooter, dunking? What were you like?
Well, in high school, I wasn't really that dude at high school because for some reason, like I just never felt comfortable like playing in there and being myself on the court. I always had like, even though in high school setting, I felt like it was people that was better than me and everything. But like my playing AAU, I was the guy. I was literally 1 through 5. I could do everything. I'll play defense. Now I wasn't like, I didn't have Kyrie Irving handles or anything like that, but I could get the ball down the court. I wasn't like Steph Curry with the 3 ball, but I could average you 25. Like I could do that. Like I was just a guy that can really just put the ball in the hoop. I was a guy that could play defense, lock down your best defender your best offensive player on the defensive side. Like I literally did everything. Like so, like you can ask anybody. Like we go to the rec or anything. Like they gonna pick me up because I do everything. I do. I love playing ball. I'm a mid-range jumper. I really part of my mindset and everything off of Kobe Bryant. Like that's just my guy. I grew up just watching every single day.
Who else from that 2013 team could ball like you on? If you had to go pick a teammate to go 2-on-2 with somebody, who would you take?
Oh, well, 2-on-2, I would have to pick TP. I got to pick Terry Plummer 2-on-2. But we had a set 5 that we used to run with all the time. It was me, Terrence Plummer. We had Brashard Perriman there. We had Jared Henry. Believe it or not, Jared Henry was low key the best hooper. I would say me, but Jared Henry was definitely like one of the best hoopers. Bruce Dukes was on that team, and then we had some switches out. Whether we will pick up Justin Tukes here and there or Deion Green, and then we would run the table a lot. We really would. Now we did run into a team that ended up beating us on the same squad, but they had people like Latavius Murray, who's a baller. They had a guy named Chemist on there who's a baller. He actually dunked on me. Then we had guys like Ray Shipman. I mean, he was cheating. He was Mr. Basketball at Florida.
That's not fair. He can't play. That's disqualified.
That was a team that ended up beating our squad. But other than that, though, that was the team that I ran with, and we ran the house most of the time.
Well, listen, Brandon, we appreciate you taking some time, and we're glad you gave us a bunch, man. Thanks for taking us down memory lane of your time at UCF, man. We definitely enjoyed watching you. Mike called you Mr. Turnover before we started when we were prepping for the interview, so we just appreciate the opportunity to look back in your career, man. And we're big fans, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward. Okay.
Man, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, man. Y'all took me through definitely memory lane, and I definitely enjoyed it tonight.
Thanks, man. I think I called you a turnover machine, actually.
Was it turnover machine? I thought it was Mr. Turnover. Which one do you like better, Brandon? Turnover machine or Mr. Turnover?
I like Mr. Turnover, to be honest with you. I'm cool with that. And to be honest, like that's how I ended my career so far right now without playing. Ended it with an interception in the Grey Cup. So we good right now. I'm living up to that name.
Awesome, man. Well, you take care, okay? Charge on.
All right, y'all too. Charge on.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
This is UCF Athletic Director Danny White, and if you don't want to be the cow of the week, you need to listen to Adam and Mike on the Sons of UCF. Charge on, go Knights!
All right, Mike is ready for Cow of the Week. And when Mike is ready for Cow of the Week, we do Cow of the Week. Again, big thanks to Chris Deloach and Brandon Alexander for hopping in with us here on the show and talking about their time at UCF. And you heard some of the 2013 legendary year stuff, and you heard a little bit about the current day stuff from Chris Deloach. So always cool to get some of those players to come in and share their experiences with us, Mike. But we also experience cows. Cows are walking among us every single solitary day, and when they do things that are cow worthy, they should be called on to explain themselves. They won't come on the show, so we'll do it for you. Mike, who do you have for your cow of the week?
These cow this week are the people who keep counting against Tom Brady.
Oh, wow.
Keep thinking that Tom Brady is going to lose, and the guy simply does not lose in the playoffs. I guess I am in this group because I was the one to say if the Giants would have got in the playoffs, I think we would have beat Tom Brady and the Bucs. And maybe, since the Giants are actually his kryptonite, maybe I could have been right. But the guy is just unbelievable, man. Every year he's in the freaking playoffs. The stats I see are incredible. I think he's won more playoff games than pretty much every franchise in the NFL except for 4, and he's tied with one. I think it's just the Cowboys and the Steelers and the Patriots, who he won all those games for. And that's it, man. The guy has won, 32 postseason games? He is incredible. And I don't put it past him to go into Green Bay this week and beat Aaron Rodgers and go to another Super Bowl. He's in the championship game every year now. He's a freaking institution. People that count against this guy and think that he's going to lose, when are you ever going to learn? People who bets against this guy? People, he loves it too. People have been betting against him since his career started. He was a 6th-round pick, the greatest to ever do it. Tom Brady, the best quarterback by far, I think, ever. And I think yesterday when I was talking to my daughters explaining how great this guy is, my wife's like, "Oh, so he's like the Michael Jordan of football." This guy is better than Michael Jordan, in my opinion. Michael Jordan won 6 times. This guy's in the Super Bowl every year. He's won 6 rings already, right?
Yeah.
I can't say enough about him. And sometimes I feel like I want to root against him, but I don't at the same time. I just love watching him. He's great. Tom Brady is the best. And if you root against – well, not if you root against him, because I understand rooting against him. If you're a Dolphins fan or a Jets fan, or if he's broken your heart a million times. But if you're betting against him and you keep waiting for him to lose, then you're a cow, because that's just not happening. And this guy is the greatest.
You do know Michael Jordan also won 6 titles, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
then he didn't go to – how many other finals did he go to?
He was 6.
This guy's also been –
It was 6-0.
Yeah, but so he lost in the playoffs other times earlier.
He did.
Did
Yes.
you get credit for that? Because
he does.
So are you? Do you give LeBron credit for going to the finals and losing? Or no.
No. Well, I mean, I do, but obviously it's going to always hurt his resume.
With that one team that had nobody on it.
The 07 Cavs, he had no business being in the finals. Obviously, the last Heat team, he just didn't want to be there anymore. His Cavs teams got rolled over by Golden State. I mean, yeah, you give him. I'm not arguing that Tom Brady isn't better than Michael Jordan relative to their sports, but I feel like Jordan couldn't have hid, if that makes any sense. Like there's only 5 guys on the court, so you can't really hide a guy out there. Tom Brady can just hand the ball off, dink and dunk. He does it very well, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but you can't really hide. You can kind of hide him if you really need to, where you couldn't hide a basketball player once his skills diminish. So it's kind of not a fair comparable because they don't play the same sport. But I think I know where your head's at. I'm also more curious how the rest of that conversation with your daughters went, trying to explain Tom Brady. So I feel like I got to know how that conversation started and how much they were actually listening to you.
No, it wasn't much of a conversation. I just said
Okay.
This guy is the greatest. The guy you see on TV right now, he's the greatest that's ever done it. And I mean, he hasn't really. Go back to some of those Patriots teams. Who were some of his receivers on those teams? I mean, he had the 1 year with Randy Moss, yeah, but that was one of the years they lost. But other than that, I mean, it's changing all the time. I don't know. I just appreciate what I'm watching when I'm watching that guy. He's the best.
No, you're wrong. He's definitely best quarterback of all time. Here's where I went cow of the week, and it's funny. Brandon Alexander actually is somebody who was benefit from this, and this happened in the Chiefs-Browns game. The fumble out of the end zone becomes a touchback on the 20-yard line for the other team rule. I feel like we should look at that, Mike. That just seems kind of harsh that we're going all the way back to the 20. And I know UCF has benefited from it. I'm sure the Cowboys have benefited from it. Teams that I've enjoyed have benefited from it. but I feel like we should amend the rule. I feel like the rule should be you lose the ball, but the other team gets it on like the 2-yard line. I feel like gaining 20 yards of field position off of that play doesn't seem right. Any other play in the field, if you fumble the ball out of bounds, you essentially get the ball back in the fumble spot, except for the end zone. And I get why you treat the end zone differently. That's why they have safeties. That's why I have other rules for the end zone. So that's why I'm okay with them saying if you fumble it through it out of the end zone, that you should lose the football. But I think it should go back on the 2. I don't think we should go to the 20. So my cow of the week is the NFL for putting that thing on the 20.
Yeah, but it's the other team that gets it at the 20. Is that
That's
your
what I'm
problem
saying.
with it?
Yeah, well, no, the other team can have it, but they should get it at the 2, not the 20.
Oh, okay. Maybe I can go with that. But I still think it should be a turnover. I think it's an exciting play.
Yeah.
As we've seen with the Brandon Alexander. Yeah, you fumble the ball and he goes out the end zone, then the other team should get the ball. You want to move it to the 2-yard line. I've got no problem with that. I could go with that.
Yeah.
So
I just think going to the 20, I get it. Like it's a risk reward play. If you put the ball out there, you risk losing it and not getting the touchdown, or you get the reward if you break that imaginary plane, you get the touchdown. So it's a risk reward play. I understand that it's a 50-50 shot, and if you don't get it, you shouldn't keep the ball back. But I feel like the 20 is just excessive. We should at least make the offense who's the team who's now getting the ball back, make them have to do something sort of tough to get themselves out of the situation. So that's my cow.
that's fair. As long as you're not saying that the team should keep the ball and get the ball wherever they fumbled it. No, I don't agree with.
Yeah, you shouldn't keep the ball, but going all the way to 20 just feels like you lost 20 yards of field position on that. It just feels, I don't know, it feels weird.
Yeah, I like the idea.
All right, finally got Mike to agree to one of my rule changes. Doesn't happen often.
Let's get Goodell on the phone. Yeah, get Goodell on the phone. What else you got? Got anything else?
I've never enjoyed that. What's the rule UCF got burned on in the in the college football? You can't advance a muffed kick or muffed punt.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I don't think you can advance it in NFL either.
I don't understand that one. If the guy muffs the punt, like that's his fault.
Yeah, that is a dumb rule too. Yeah, you should be able to pick it up and run into the end zone.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 2 for 2.
That's all I got off the top of my head. I mean, you want all football rules? I haven't. I mean, it's still this whole thing where we let 60-year-old men spot the football. By the way, there's got to be a better way to do that. I mean, if you want to go there on it, there's got to be a microchip situation that you can put. But I get the refs and the chain gang is good theater. It's good drama. Right? You have to wait for the guys to come out and stretch out those metallic links to figure out if you get a first down. It's almost like watching a cliffhanger of a TV show. So I get from a dramatic perspective that probably makes a ton of sense, but there's definitely better ways to do that.
Oh yeah, I don't know how they don't have just a laser shooting across the field with the first down marker as it is. I mean, it seems so easy, or a chip in the ball has been talked about a million times with a sensor that goes off. There's plenty of ways to do it. I'm sure. We're in 2021. We're doing the chain gang thing, but there is something to it when they go out there with the chains and stretch it out and you see, it's short, or you got it by an inch. It's a little drama to it. It's something that that's the way we've always done it. So I don't know. Once they change it though, we'll get used to it real fast.
Well, I also heard on CBS that during the same game, the Chiefs-Browns game, they were explaining the difference between going out of bounds and being forced out of bounds and giving yourself up out of bounds when the clock starts. And I just feel like if you're out of bounds, the clock should stop. I don't feel like we should have to make a judgment call on were you forced? Did you give yourself up? Did an elbow hit? Out of bounds is out of bounds. I don't understand why we're deciding one out of bounds is different than another out of bounds.
Yeah, that is very fair too. I did notice that. Yeah. You're coming up with some good ones, man.
This is off the top of my head too. I had time to prepare.
Forget applying for the UCF AD job. I think you got a job. Gene Steratore, watch his back. You get on that rules committee and start making some differences in the NFL. Man.
I feel like I could be Tony Romo or Jim Nantz too. All Jim Nantz goes, Tony, and it's all he really does the entire game. I feel like I could do that pretty well. I've got a lot of I got a lot of work to do. I'm like, we have to end the show then. I got a lot of resumes to update. I got a lot of things I got to do then to prepare for my lucrative future in many different possible industries. But we appreciate you for listening to us on this adventure that we're on here, the 116th edition of the Sons of UCF. Hope you enjoyed the double interview combos. I think we got a couple of other guys lined up for future shows, so make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and you'll get all those as soon as they are released. and we'll keep you abreast of everything that's happening right now. It's getting kind of a dead period, and UCF is a bit of a silo of information, Mike. But as soon as we get it, we will share it with you all here exclusively on the Sons of UCF. And, oh, by the way, be on the lookout. We might do one of those live show dealy things again. So be on the lookout. Keep an eye on social media. We'll let you know if that thing's happening or not. So we definitely want you to check that out, Mike. A lot going on, but we're always here to cover it for everybody.
That's right. And you never know when I'm going to give out one of these golden ticket hats. At any point. I gave one away last week. I told you guys we were going to start doing that. I got a couple left. So stay tuned. Keep listening. Keep checking in on us on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else we're at. And you never know. One day I'll feel feisty, decide to give another one away. You don't want to miss it when it happens.
All right. Well, on behalf of Feisty Mike, we will talk to you all again next week. Everybody have a great week. Go Knights.
Charge on.